Chapter 326. Yi Fan's heart skipped a beat. He did not expect in Miaoyi to mention the sacred body of the ancients, so he remained silent and listened to the discussion of the others. I once heard that the sea of bitterness of the sacred body is golden, not lifeless, and possesses unparalleled divine power. I've also seen a few words in an ancient text. Their Taoist palace will not give birth to gods, and all the power will be used to nourish their bodies. Two people spoke up, one after the other. Yi Fan was surprised. These people were really knowledgeable, knowing even this. He did not know that the Taoist palace would be like this, and he used to think that there was a problem with cultivation. Su Heng was dressed in black, and his skin was snow-white like jade. He was like a divine sword hidden in a sheath, with its sharpness restrained. He said, "For people with such a physique, their blood is comparable to divine medicine when they reach the great accomplishment. It was mentioned in the notes of an ancient alchemist that it is priceless. I'd like to hear more from you, Brother Su. I'm all ears." And Miaoyi's long eyelashes fluttered as she looked at Su Heng with her big spirited eyes. Su Heng had a strong background. His grandfather, Su Qianxiong, was even more terrifying than the mighty Green Dragon King. He was the third greatest bandit in the North region, so his family was well learned. His temperament was a bit cold. Even his smile was like a frosted flower. He said, "That was something my grandfather accidentally saw on a stone wall." Su Qianxiong was a person with great fortune. He had already become famous in the North region more than 1,000 years ago, and he once saw the notes of an alchemist of the antiquity on a cliff. Years ago, a great accomplishment sacred body of the ancients was bestowed with half a bowl of sacred blood, which was refined into a pill by the alchemist and medicinal herbs. Not only did it save a dying person, but that person also broke through to a great secret realm. It has such a magical effect. Many people were moved. Before the antiquity age, the world was chaotic. Even the sacred body of the ancients had battles that lasted for days. A man in a golden battle suit said. His skin was the color of wheat, and his face was sharp and angular. His name was Jin Qishao, the heir of the gold family of the northern plains. He was extremely powerful, and his status was comparable to that of the Xia kingdom's prince. He had also seen relevant records. Years ago, a great accomplishment sacred body of the ancients used his own blood to save many of his dying friends. It was recorded in ancient books that 10 drops of blood could bring a person back to life. Was the great earth very chaotic before the primordial era? And Miaoyi's eyes roamed about as she looked at Jin Qishao. It was indeed chaotic with demons running amok. However, they were eventually suppressed by the sacred physique in ancient emperors. Jin Qishao said. Beside him, a purple-clothed man sneered. He had an imposing appearance and was indescribably noble. His eyes were even deeper than the starry skies. Demons running amok? I think it's because the ancient creatures haven't gone extinct yet and are running amok on the earth. His name was Yao Yuekong, and he was the young master of the Sky Demon Palace. He came from the west of the East Baron. This ancient demon palace had existed since the beginning of time, and it was comparable to the sacred grounds. Yao Yuekong, what do you mean by this? Jin Qishao asked coldly, his brows furrowed. Just now, you said that during the desolate antiquity era, the world was in chaos and the demon race ran amok. I was asking you what you meant by that. Qi Yuekong's purple robes fluttered in the wind. He sat there without moving, but he gave off an oppressive aura. The ancient Yao Palace intimidated the world. Since ancient times, it was unknown how many powerful Yao kings had appeared. It was said that even the Green Flood Dragon King came from this palace. Yao Yuekong's identity was indescribably noble, and his strength was naturally terrifying. Could it be that what I said was not true? Jin Qishao opposed with equal harshness. He was not afraid because he also had a great background. The Huangjin family was located in the northern plains, but it was also connected to the north region of the East Baron. It was said that they came from the East Baron in the past. There were even rumors that they were the descendants of ancient creatures, and had the blood of the immemorial golden race. This bloodline status in the northern plains was like the Immortal dynasty Grand Xia's status in the central plains. It was unshakable, and they could naturally compete with the Sky Demon Palace. Yao Yuekong snorted and said, In the past, the ancient creatures stirred up trouble and were suppressed by the ancient emperors. Some of the families had no choice but to leave the northern plains and the East Baron. The two had fought a great battle not long ago, and the enmity between them ran deep. Now that they were at loggerheads, it was very likely that they would have a life-and-death battle again. Yi Fan was deeply shocked. He gradually realized that the Huangjin family and the Sky Demon Palace had such a long history and were so mysterious. Yao Yuekong, we are the golden royal race of the human race. Don't try to slander us. Some ancient creatures stirred up trouble in the past, but now they call themselves the golden royal race of the human race. Although they were enemies, the two did not have the intention to fight. Soon they calmed down. They did not want others to watch the show. And Miaoyi personally poured the wine, and with a flip of her hand, 2 jade cups flew towards Jin Qishao and Yao Yuekong. Miao Yi salutes the 2 young masters. There is no need to fight over this. Please drink this wine. Although it was a bit stiff, no one would argue in this situation. They could not turn against each other, so they drank the wine. Someone next to him asked, Brother Yuekong, the Sky Demon Palace has existed for a long time. In the past, many great monsters came from the Sky Demon Palace. In the Desolate Era, they once fought against the Saint Physique. How much do you know about this? Yao Yuekong's black hair danced in the wind, and he said calmly, although the demons and humans once fought, it is all in the past. Now, we live in harmony, and the grudges of the past have been buried in history. Brother Yuekong, please don't misunderstand. I don't mean anything else. The man quickly stood up and cupped his hands. To him, the Sky Demon Palace was even more terrifying than the sacred grounds. And Miaoyi smiled faintly. Her teeth were sparkling and her eyes were bright. She said, Brother Yuekong, please don't mind me. I wanted to ask this question as well. We really want to know more about the sacred body of the ancients. Yifan did not understand why this woman was like this. Was she really that interested in the sacred body? Complete sacred body is invincible. This was the evaluation of the sacred body of the ancients by Yao Yuekong's ancestors. In the Desolate Era, the demons were extremely prosperous. The Sky Demon Palace could not be said to be the ruler of the world. There were many great monsters, but they paid a bloody price in the battle against the sacred body. The giants of the demons fell one after another, and they were almost wiped out. The sacred body can subdue all kinds of phenomena, and all domain laws are ineffective against him. He is unstoppable in battles of life and death. Most of the people present were at the level of saints. Some of them had cultivated ancient phenomena and could fight across secret realms. If they were to encounter the sacred body, there was no doubt that all of this would be useless. This was unsettling news. Yifan felt a bit uneasy. These people were almost digging out his secrets with their words, which was not a good sign. Yao Yuekong did not reveal anything further and said, Didn't some of the sacred grounds cultivate the sacred body of the ancients? He glanced at Xianxia and the Son of All Beginnings. The others also said, I've heard about it, but I don't know the details. Everyone's eyes were focused on Xianxia and the Son of All Beginnings. And Miaoyi personally poured wine for them and said, Brother Xiang, can you tell us? That was tens of thousands of years ago. Unfortunately, it still failed, Xianxia said. The Holy Land of Super Yin once discovered a sacred body by chance tens of thousands of years ago. They spent millions of kilograms of source to help him ascend to the 5th level of the Holy Ji Palace. It was a bottomless pit. Although the Holy Land of Super Yin was able to produce millions of kilograms of source, their vitality would be greatly damaged. Many seniors speculated that even if they were to help him break into the 4 levels of secret realms, he might still encounter other unimaginable difficulties. What happened to the sacred body after that? Someone asked. This was the question that everyone was most concerned about. Xianxia did not answer and remained silent. I heard that the sacred body was quite pitiful, Su Heng said in a lukewarm tone. Back in the day, although a sacred ground could produce millions of kilograms of source, they could not see any hope, so it naturally ended, Xianxia said. Nowadays, the lands of the great sage have opened up a large number of source mines in the northern region. If they were to produce millions of kilograms of source, it would not hurt their vitality at all, someone said. Unfortunately, the loss outweighs the gain. Who knows if there will be shackles after the sacred body enters the 4 levels? No one is willing to gamble. The Son of All Beginnings shook his head. Li Heishui interjected, Now there is a sacred body of the ancients, right? I think the lands of the great sage should consider nurturing an invincible fighter. Many people did not respond. What a terrible idea. Putting aside the grudge between Yi Fan and Alcade, the fact that he was not a disciple of the sacred grounds from a young age was enough to directly reject it. Why is Goddess An so interested in the sacred body? Yi Fan suddenly asked. Miaoyi is wholeheartedly focused on the path, wanting to understand its source and its essence. I read in the notes of the seniors that the sacred body is close to the great path, so naturally I want to understand more. The Prince of Great Xia laughed and said, The sacred body was famous all over the world in the past. I am more and more looking forward to him breaking the curse and entering the 4 levels of secret realms. And Miaoyi suddenly stood up, her jade-like body graceful. She came to a jade table and held a small bronze cauldron in her hand. She said, "Everyone, I would like to invite you to take a look at this item. What is its origin?" This small cauldron was covered in green rust, and there were some fish, insects, birds and beasts carved on it. It was very simple and unadorned, but it did not have any divine power, and the Tao pattern seemed to be damaged. Everyone's expression changed. It was impossible for Miaoyi to casually take out something for them to see. The reason she invited them here tonight was most likely for this item. Everyone came forward one by one and observed it, but they did not see anything unusual. When Yi Fan held it in his hand, his heart skipped a beat. He saw a familiar imprint on the cauldron, a grimace. This was the item left behind by that ruthless person. Jiang Yifei was dressed in white, looking extraordinary and refined. He did not say anything from the beginning until he took the small cauldron from Yi Fan's hand. His expression froze. "Goddess, and where did you get this?" "Brother Jiang is indeed well learned. You must know what it represents." And Miaoyi's eyes were like water as she looked at Jiang Yifei, the imprint left behind by a great emperor. At this moment, Sky Demon Palace young Lord Yao Yuekong's heart also shook. "Behind you all is the most ancient inheritance in the Eastern Baron. You are indeed knowledgeable." Miaoyi is impressed. And Miaoyi smiled. "Goddess, and are you trying to tell us that this item represents that we can find the other half of the extreme weapon?" Jiang Yifei asked calmly. And Miaoyi nodded. "Yes. However, it requires the divine body, the saint body, and the sky demon body to be able to obtain the other half of the extreme weapon." Dong! Suddenly, the sound of a bell resonated between heaven and earth. Everyone was shocked and their bodies trembled. What is that sound? At this moment, the entire holy city was shaken. The sound of a huge bell echoed throughout the entire holy city. Suddenly, Jiang Yifei's expression changed. He said, "Someone crossed the void and entered the barren ancient path platform of the holy city. However, only the great sage can do this." What happened? The young people's expressions changed. At the same time, the entire holy city was in chaos. No one could remain calm. Yi Fan's heart skipped a beat. He had heard the sound of a bell before. It was unforgettable. This was the sound of a bell from inside the Purple Mountain. A great sage crossed the void. It must have come from the Purple Mountain. The sound of the bell followed him here. What happened in the Purple Mountain? Did the great sage escape to the holy city? Chapter 327. The holy city had existed for a long time, and its origins could not be traced. It had existed since the beginning of human records. In the eastern wastelands, many great powers, holy lands, and Jianghu families all wanted to take it for themselves, but this was not realistic. After all, there was only one divine city. In the end, many great powers discussed in secret and exercised their authority together to control the city. Regarding the secrets of the divine city, outsiders almost did not know. Only a small number of secrets were made public and had been exposed to the world. The desolate ancient Tao platform was located in the center of the divine city. It floated in the sky. This was a grand immortal platform and it was densely covered in Tao patterns. Without a doubt, these were complex Tao patterns. They were profound to the point that even many holy lords could not understand them. Almost no one could understand them. In the past, everyone thought that they could cross the void from this place and reach a mysterious place. They were all excited and tried many times. Reality proved that the desolate ancient Tao platform was indeed an imprint of the great Tao. It was an imprint that could cross the void, but no one could cross to other regions. Some records vaguely mentioned that the Tao platform could send people to a divine place. There were great fortunes there, but no one had been able to realize it. The reason why there was such a saying was that several ancient great emperors had successfully crossed the void here. Unfortunately, no one could prove it. However, everyone discovered other benefits. There were 9 stone orders on the Tao platform, and no matter where they went, as long as they held the stone orders in their hands and used their divine force, they would be able to quickly cross the void and return to the center of the divine city. This was a shocking discovery. There was an old holy lord who tried it. He went to the central plains and used his divine power to cross the void and return to the center of the divine city. Of course, the consumption was also great. If it was a normal person, their divine power would have been sucked dry and they would have died a violent death. The 9 stone orders were divided among the holy lands and Jianghu families. In the past, there were more holy lands than there were now. Some of them almost went to war because they could not obtain them. The stone orders were all in the hands of the great sage lords. Only they could cross as they wished and return to the floating divine city. On this night, the center of the divine city was dazzling. The desolate ancient Tao platform vibrated with endless spatial power, and 7 or 8 figures appeared at the same time. They waved their sleeves and countless figures fell from their sleeves. Everyone knew that something major had happened. 7 or 8 holy masters passed through the void together and retreated to Divine City's heavenly imperial court. This was something that had never happened before. This was especially the case just now. The great golden bell shook heaven and earth, the long and drawn-out bell sounds making everyone's souls tremble. Even the Divine City resonated because of it, as if it was going to collapse. The sound waves made the entire Divine City resonate. This was something that had never happened before. Everyone in the city was startled. They all rushed out to watch from the distance. This is the Emperor's might. Heavens, this is the divine might of a great emperor. An elder cried out in alarm. Even someone as powerful as a holy master couldn't make such a sound. Everyone's soul had been moved by the sound waves. There was no need to think too much, there was no need to guess. Almost instinctively, many people linked this to the might of an ancient emperor, causing their hearts to tremble. Heavens, could it be that there's an ancient emperor that hasn't died yet? This is shocking. No, those great emperors can't be in this world anymore. No one can live for so long. Could it be that someone has become a great emperor? Heavens, it can't be that a new great emperor has appeared, right? Many people revealed expressions of disbelief. The emperor's might just now was too shocking. The divine city was the center of the northern region. It gathered the winds and clouds of the world, so naturally, there were many extraordinary figures. There were the imperial uncles of the great Xia of the Central Plains, the almighty figures of the northern region's golden clan, and the giants of the southern mountains. Several people rushed towards the sky at the same time. Yi Fan and the others naturally rushed out as well. Even though Miaoyi was the most beautiful in the world, she couldn't compare to the emperor's might outside. This night, the divine city was destined to be sleepless. Many people couldn't calm down. Something has happened to all the holy masters. The Purple Mountain must be in great danger. Jiang Yifei pondered for a moment. He turned around and mounted the golden divine Ho, stepping on the moon. His white robes fluttered in the wind, making him look exceptionally elegant. I'll visit Fairy in another day. Goodbye, everyone. A voice came from afar. The golden divine Ho turned into a beam of golden light and disappeared from the shore of the lake. Farewell, we have to leave as well. The saints of Dian and Myriad Beginnings left in a hurry. If something happened to the great sage lords, it would affect them greatly. It would affect whether or not they could become future lords. Miaoyi respectfully sends you all off. And Miaoyi transmitted her voice. Since things had come to this, everyone dispersed and left. 2 days later, the news finally spread, shocking everyone. The great sage's first attack on the Purple Mountain ended in failure. They were almost completely wiped out. The Jiang clan, Ji clan, Alcade, and Jade Pool all had extreme weapons. That night, the Divine Sun Cauldron, the Dragon Pattern Cauldron, and the other 2 replicas were all shattered and turned into dust. In addition, the weapons of several other holy masters had been intertwined with Tao and reason. They were also turned into dust and turned into nothingness. All of this was because of a bell. It wasn't the birth of a true great emperor. When the bell rippled, many experts were shattered. They couldn't resist at all. The Holy Lands and the clans of the Clan of the Ancients studied the Purple Mountain for many days. They believed that this place definitely contained the secrets of an ancient great emperor. 9 dragons surrounded a mountain. Such a terrain was almost impossible to find in the world. They thought of many plans, but in the end they felt that going deep into the Purple Mountain was too dangerous. It was better to combine the strength of the Holy Lands and cut it in half. Unexpectedly, this led to a great disaster. The Purple Mountain hadn't been broken, but it caused the extreme Tao divine bell to shake the world. The bell waves destroyed everything. Everywhere they passed, everything was turned into dust. More than 100 famous experts were turned into dust on the spot. They didn't even have time to make a sound before their bodies and souls were destroyed. They couldn't resist at all. The great sage reacted quickly and made a decisive decision. They used their great divine abilities to put away the others. They held the stone tokens and flew through the void. As for the extreme Tao weapon replicas and Holy Master weapons, they were all shattered. When the news spread, the northern region, the eastern wasteland, and the whole world were shaken. The name Great Emperor without beginning appeared once again, surfacing to the surface of the water, shocking everyone from history. Most people in the world didn't know about it, but the ancient inheritances of the world would never forget this name. In the era when Great Emperor Wuxia dominated the world, he displayed the might of an ancient great emperor to the extreme. At the end of the path of immortals, Wuxia's Tao became empty. This was the highest evaluation of him. Even though hundreds of thousands of years had passed, the ancient inheritances would never forget that once Wuxia appeared, the great Tao became empty. The holy city was in an uproar and the world was shocked. This great emperor didn't leave behind an inheritance. The Wuxia bell had already disappeared in history, which made many cultivators feel deeply regretful. Yes, if great Emperor Wuxia couldn't leave behind an inheritance, it would be a great loss to the human race. It would be an immeasurable regret. Today when the Wuxia bell rang, the whole world was moved. The old holy master who was about to die felt gratified, but even more people went crazy. The inheritance of great Emperor Wuxia, which had disappeared for countless years, was about to appear. This affected everyone's nerves and it was an irresistible temptation. Is this true? Great Emperor Wuxia's inheritance is actually about to appear. Great Emperor Wuxia shocked the ancients and dazzled the present. He was unrivaled under the heavens, an unsurpassable monument. In just a few days the world quickly understood some of the secrets of great Emperor Wuxia. The news spread too fast. Of course, all of this was revealed by the ancient inheritances, including the Holy Lands, the gold families of the Northern Domain, and the 4 undying dynasties of the Central Continent. I would rather fight a grand completion Saint Physique and never see Wuxia again. These were the words left behind by the ancestors of the Sky Demon Palace. From this, it could be seen how much the great demons of the Desolate Era feared him. Before the Desolate Era the world was very chaotic. The demon race and the human race often fought, and in the end they were suppressed by the ancient emperors. When the great demons roared through the world, they naturally fought against grand completion Saint Physiques and ancient emperors, so they deeply understood how terrifying they were. This Wuxia is too terrifying. Before becoming a great emperor, he actually resisted the ultimate weapon of the Central Continent with his bare hands. After understanding the secret, even the people of the Central Continent were stunned. They couldn't help but stare with their tongues tied. In the past, there was no need to talk about great Emperor Wuxia's heaven-warping talent when he was young. He absolutely suppressed all his peers in the world, and even the older generation was intimidated by him. He was a living heaven-defying monster. And when he finally succeeded, it was even more profound and unpredictable, making it impossible for others to estimate his depth. Before becoming a great emperor, he once fought against the people of the Central Continent at the border of the Eastern Baron. That was an era of geniuses, and it was precisely because of the emergence of countless geniuses that made great Emperor Wuxia unreachable. An unparalleled genius of the Central Continent's undying dynasty was heroic and majestic, rarely seen since ancient times. He was about to create a miracle in that era, succeeding the founder of the dynasty and becoming the new great emperor. In the entire world, there had never been 2 great emperors from the same inheritance. If he succeeded, it would undoubtedly be a magnificent feat and a miracle. That genius had indeed touched the edge of becoming a great emperor, and if there were no accidents, it was very likely that he would succeed. Unfortunately, he encountered Wuxia, who hadn't become a great emperor yet. At the border between the Central Continent and the Eastern Baron, he fought against Wuxia and even used the weapon of extreme path, but he was still defeated in the end. The genius of the Central Continent was infinitely close to great emperor. If he used the weapon of extreme path left behind by first ancestor, he could definitely display the divine might of a great emperor. However, Wuxia received the weapon of extreme path with his bare hands, and he wasn't turned into ashes. Instead, he suppressed his opponent and shocked the world. Great Emperor Wuxia was a person with a big heart. After becoming the great emperor, he returned the weapon of extreme path to that dynasty and didn't make things difficult for them. This is a heaven-defying monster. After hearing this news, Yi Fan sighed. Li Heishui said, "As long as you break the curse and break through the 4 extreme secret realms, with your performance today, you will become another heaven-defying monster. I want to loot all the stones in the lands of the great sage, and I must enter the 4 extreme secret realms." Yi Fan's emotions fluctuated from the various secrets of great Emperor Wuxia. These sacred masters are about to leave. They won't retreat just like that. The temptation of Wuxia's orthodoxy is irresistible. Li Heishui thought for a moment and said, "The only thing you have to pay attention to are those sacred sons. They definitely won't be sent to Mount Purple. They have all seen you before, so you mustn't make any mistakes. Sooner or later, I will block the gates of the lands of the great sage and beat them until they don't dare to come out." Yi Fan muttered to himself. "Ha ha ha." Li Heishui laughed loudly and said, Looks like you are filled with resentment from being chased by these people. What a pity. Even someone as talented as Emperor Wuxia, who shook the past and dazzled the present, ended up as a pile of dirt. Yi Fan sighed. Immortals really don't exist? Li Heishui also sighed. As expected, the sacred grounds wouldn't give up. They started their second attack on Mount Purple, and it was said that they might use weapons of extreme path. It might be the Divine Sun Furnace, Dragon Pattern Cauldron, or even Void Mirror. The second attack would definitely be earth-shattering, and they might really open up Mount Purple. Chapter 328. In the past, once the Saint Physique appeared, the world would be subdued. Everywhere it passed, heroes would retreat, not daring to face it head-on. Unfortunately, it had declined for too long. Nowadays, even the disciples of small sects would add the word, trash physique, when talking about this physique. As the years flowed and rose and fell, the Saint Physique faded away from the masses and could no longer display its supreme elegance. The cycle was unstoppable. Yi Fan wanted to break the curse and change the current predicament. He urgently wanted to become stronger, especially after hearing the secret of great Emperor Wuxia. His emotions fluctuated greatly. The divine city was really too big. After so many days, Yi Fan was only limited to a corner and didn't go deep into it. Of course, this was mainly because he wanted to gamble on stones. It was impossible to look at the flowers on horseback. After choosing a stone square, he would have to stay for a long time. Today, Li Heishui took Yi Fan a bit further. This ancient street was very wide, but there weren't many pedestrians. It was exceptionally quiet. On both sides of the road were ancient trees. Their branches reached the sky and their bark was dry and cracked. Even a dozen people wouldn't be able to wrap their arms around them. They covered the sky and covered the sun, giving this place a sense of eeriness. After walking forward for a while, Yi Fan found that something was wrong. There was a stone square on the side of the road. It was quite large and occupied a vast area. However, it was exceptionally desolate. Weeds were overgrown and the old trees were growing crazily, almost submerging the building. It was obvious that no one had taken care of it for many years. It had almost become a wild land. I'm going to faint. Yi Fan was dumbfounded because he actually saw a rabbit. That's right, a wild rabbit jumped out of the weeds and rushed into the depths of the garden. This was the divine city. Every inch of land was worth gold. How could such a huge palace be so desolate? Unexpectedly, no one took care of it. It had become a strange place with ancient vines and wild trees. It was indeed a bit special. The most excessive thing was that wild rabbits had appeared. Very soon Yi Fan found 2 wild chickens. They flapped their wings and flew into the depths of the shrubs. He was quite speechless. This was too strange. What is this place? Why would someone in the divine city be willing to abandon such a precious place? This place is the stone square of the heavenly jade Holy Land, Li Heishui said. In front of him, there was a magnificent doorway on the side of the road. It was covered by ancient trees, and there was a mottled bronze plaque engraved with 2 ancient characters, Merak. It's that Holy Land. Yi Fan was surprised. He walked closer and carefully sized it up. No wonder. He thought of Crazy Ol. Years ago, when this Holy Land was at its peak, it used the whole sect to attack the forbidden land of the barren antiquity, but it was almost destroyed. Don't the other Holy Lands have any thoughts? Yi Fan asked. In the distant past, there were more Holy Lands than there were now, but up until now many of their inheritances had already been severed. The treasures they left behind were all divided up by the other Holy Lands. This was also one of the reasons why the Holy Lands were becoming more and more powerful. Back then, only 3 or 4 people from the Heavenly Jade Holy Land managed to escape. How could they suppress the other Holy Lands who were eyeing them covetously? Many of the treasures they left behind were divided, including the vast source mine outside the absolute beginning Forbidden Land. Why hasn't this place been divided? Yi Fan didn't understand. Of course there are reasons. Li Heishui explained. The Heavenly Jade Holy Land was located in the central region of the Eastern Barren Territory. The 3 or 4 people who escaped from the Heavenly Jade Holy Land died not long after. The other Holy Lands wanted to divide the Heavenly Jade Holy Land equally, but later on, there would be cries coming from the Heavenly Jade Holy Land every full moon. A few sacred lords went to investigate at night, but they couldn't find anything. Not long after, the biggest stone square in the Divine City also heard sorrowful cries when there was a full moon. The other Holy Lands sent experts to investigate, but they didn't even see a shadow. In the end, they didn't dare to touch this place. In the following years, every 1,000 years, the sorrowful cries would appear in the middle of the night, and it really shocked all the Holy Lands. Until now no one dared to touch this place. Ah, the door is open. Yi Fan was surprised. So many years have passed and only an old guard is left. He's the descendant of that loyal old servant, but he's about to die out. Now this guard doesn't have any descendants. Can I go in and take a look? You can go in, but the stones have long been transported away by the great sage's lands. There's nothing good left. Can we gamble on stones here? Yi Fan was a little surprised. The old servant who guards this place also needs to survive. He only guards this old house. As for the stones, if anyone wants to buy them, he will naturally sell them. Back then, the great sage's lands had transported many precious stones away first. The cries only appeared in the middle of the night. Although they didn't occupy this place, they couldn't return the stones. The broken stone steps and the collapsed palace were all covered by grass and trees. An old man with blurred eyes and a hunched back sat on a piece of green stone. He was old and he didn't have much lifespan left. He was almost at the end of his life. Looking at the desolate garden overgrown with weeds, his eyes were filled with nostalgia and sadness. Seeing this scene, Yi Fan couldn't help but sigh. This was a loyal family. Their ancestors had guarded this courtyard without any future or hope for generations. The old man was a little stiff. He slowly turned his head. His face was full of wrinkles and his eyes were turbid. "Young man, are you here to buy stones?" What a sad old man. What is he waiting for by guarding here? Yi Fan didn't know what kind of power or belief supported the old man. I want to buy a lot of stones." Yi Fan nodded and placed a lot of stones in front of the old man. "I don't need so much. There are no valuable stones here." The old man was trembling. He pushed the stones back with his rough old hands and said, "Moreover, you haven't chosen a stone yet." "I'll go choose now," Yi Fan said. "Search carefully. Maybe you can find one or two treasures. Occasionally, there will be legendary figures who come here to search for treasures." The old man's eyes were lifeless. He looked at the ruined garden with sadness and said, "There was another person who came in just now. He went to the depths to search. Maybe he is one of those people." Li Heishui smiled and joked, "Maybe we are lucky and will really meet a legendary figure." Suddenly Yi Fan's expression turned sluggish. His heart was thumping because he really saw a terrifying figure. In the depths of the wormwood grass, there was an old Taoist wearing an ancient Taoist robe. His body was withered and he was squatting on the ground looking at the stones. It was actually the Red Dragon Taoist. Fortunately, Yi Fan's chi cultivation was good enough. If it was someone else, they would have cried out in alarm. He calmed his emotions in an instant and his pulse was not chaotic at all. This was the Peacock King's sworn brother, a super terrifying existence that even the great sage lords feared. Yi Fan had never thought he would meet him here. He couldn't help but glance at the old man and Li Heishui. He didn't know whether they were jinxed or they had great prophecy skills. They really pointed out a super terrifying figure. The Red Dragon Taoist glanced over and then at the old man and Li Heishui. He didn't say anything. A few months ago, the Red Dragon Taoist chose a pile of stoneware in the stone stronghold. In the end, Yi Fan took it all away and even the foundation of the villagers' houses were uprooted. Not even a hair was left for him. Yi Fan could imagine the Red Dragon Taoist's expression when he returned that day. He didn't dare to reveal a single flaw. If the Red Dragon Taoist knew he was the one who did it, he would most likely ruthlessly beat him up. He and Li Heishui casually searched for stones under the ancient tree and didn't reveal any strange expressions. Not long after, the Red Dragon Taoist chose a dozen or so broken stones that didn't seem special. He piled them up in front of the old man and was about to pay. Suddenly, the Red Dragon Taoist seemed to have sensed something. He emitted a terrifying aura and disappeared from where he was. He rushed out as if he was chasing after something. Why did he leave? The old man was puzzled. He then said to Yi Fan and Li Heishui, "Why don't you guys stop picking and buy these stones? They're all good ones." Yi Fan was a little hesitant. Could it be that he had to plunder everything the Red Dragon Taoist wanted? But if that ox nose doesn't come back, I'm very lucky. If he comes back, I'll do him a favor. Yi Fan secretly made such a decision and walked over. Just cut it here. Li Heishui didn't care much. He didn't know the identity of the Red Dragon Taoist. Wait a little longer. Yi Fan was afraid that the Red Dragon Taoist would come back. However, after waiting for a quarter of an hour, the other party still didn't return. He secretly thanked his luck and directly cut the stone. After peeling off 13 stones, there was nothing inside. It was empty. The 15th stone was only the size of a fist. As soon as Yi Fan cut it open, he smelled a fragrance. It was like orchid musk, refreshing and intoxicating. He was shocked. The smell was too familiar. Not long ago he had cut it out from the stone tools left behind by the Yuan Taoist master. It had poisoned the greedy big black dog to death. Why is the red dragon Taoist's eyes so sharp? Does he also know the most profound Genesis technique? While Yi Fan was shocked, he also had endless doubts. Of course, at the moment he had a headache. He had cut out something like this again. Was it going to be wasted again? I cut out a treasure. Li Heishui shouted excitedly. Such a strong fragrance coming from the stone must be a rare treasure in the world. Even the old man next to him, his turbid eyes were no longer dull, revealing a look of surprise. Yi Fan peeled off the stone, revealing a pink fruit. It was only the size of half a fist. It was exactly the same as the last time, just that it was half the size. Shwa. Suddenly, a light flashed and the red dragon Taoist silently appeared in place, revealing a look of shock and anger. Why did you touch my stone? Yi Fan didn't answer immediately. He wanted to sell the red dragon Taoist a favor. He absolutely couldn't let the other party blame him. You went and didn't return, so I took the initiative to sell it to them. At this moment, the old man next to him replied. Taoist Red Dragon was a little surprised and could not help but look at the old man. We've already bought it. If you want it, bring enough source energy to buy it. Even though Li Heishui could tell that the Red Dragon Taoist was extremely powerful, he would never have thought that the other party was so terrifying that he could be the big brother of the Peacock King. Let's not talk about these useless things first. Hurry up and take out the jade artifact to seal it. Otherwise, the most conservative estimate is that something worth hundreds of thousands of kilograms of origin source will be ruined. The Red Dragon Taoist was incomparably anxious. His head was drenched in sweat. He searched his entire body but could not find any jade artifact. Hundreds of thousands of kilograms? Li Heishui almost bit off his tongue. Damn Black Emperor. At this moment, Yi Fan had the urge to curse, and the corner of his mouth almost twitched. Damn, this greedy damn dog bit down on more than 200,000 kilograms of origin source in one bite. In the end, it didn't even bother to do anything. It poisoned itself until it foamed at the mouth and twitched for half a month. Chapter 329. At this moment, Yi Fan had completely peeled off the pink fruit. It didn't crack and the fragrance was intoxicating. Li Heishui swallowed his saliva. It's definitely a rare divine medicine. If you want it, then take out 300,000 kilograms of origin source. Li Heishui was asking for an exorbitant price. He didn't know the Red Dragon Taoist's identity and had no scruples. As he spoke, he took out a jade bottle and poured out the pills inside. He put the pink fruit inside very neatly. This is the stone I chose. The Red Dragon Taoist was expressionless. But I did sell it to them. The old man guarding the gate of the heavenly jade holy land said weakly with the help of his walking stick. Yes, Taoist, you won't rob it by force, will you? This is a disgrace to your identity as a senior. Li Heishui said. Yi Fan quickly stopped him, afraid that he would say too much and bring disaster. This old Taoist was like the Peacock King who didn't respect the laws of the world. He did things his own way and almost killed the Alcade Holy Lord. Taoist, if you really need it, I can give it to you. Yi Fan was prepared to do him a big favor. How can you give it to him for free? This is more than 100,000 kilograms of origin source. Li Heishui shouted. Yi Fan didn't dare to use telepathy. At such a close distance, he was afraid that the Red Dragon Taoist would hear him. He only pulled on Li Heishui's sleeve and told him not to go too far. What kind of person was Li Heishui? He was full of evil thoughts. He immediately changed his tone and said, You really want to give such precious origin source to this Taoist? Aren't you being too generous? The Red Dragon Taoist took the jade bottle and sealed the fruit. Only then did he say expressionlessly, I won't take advantage of you. Taoist, you've misunderstood. We didn't mean that. We saw that you didn't return for a long time, so we bought it and cut it open. Now that you've returned, no matter how precious this fruit is, we won't take it anymore. This is the stone you chose, so just give it back to you. Yi Fan didn't want to make the Red Dragon Taoist feel disgusted. Otherwise, the Red Dragon Taoist could easily crush them with an excuse. Thus, he generously gave it out, looking like he didn't want anything in return. Sure enough, the Red Dragon Taoist's expression softened and he said, After all, you bought it first. I won't let you suffer a loss. The so-called source is useless to me. Only this fruit is meaningful. The Crimson Dragon Old Taoist's sleeve shook. Walala sounds rang out, and a large pile of energy appeared on the ground. They shone with a myriad of colors, radiance rushing into the heavens. The spiritual energy was like clouds and smoke, so thick that it couldn't be dispersed. There was a total of 15,000 kilograms of source energy, but he had thrown it out without a care, as if he was throwing an ordinary stone. I only have this much. I'll think of a way to give you the rest in the future. Taoist priest, please don't do this. Makes me feel uneasy. I don't dare to accept the source energy like this. Yi Fan repeatedly declined. The Crimson Dragon held the jade bottle, continuously stroking it. After obtaining this fruit, he was in a good mood, his expression gentle as he said, "If I tell you to accept it, then accept it. These things are like the copper coins of the secular world to me, they have long lost their use. If that's the case, then I will accept it. However, it would be disrespectful to refuse, and I am ashamed to accept it." Yi Fan no longer declined. Then, he revealed a look of doubt and asked in a serious manner, "Senior, can I ask what is the use of this fruit?" The Crimson Dragon old man glanced at him and said, "This fruit is called the human essence fruit. It has many uses. In the hands of a master alchemist, it can be used to create a divine pill. In my hands, it can extend my lifespan by 50 to 100 years. Refining a divine pill, extending one's lifespan, this was definitely a peerless treasure. One has to know that normal spiritual medicines were of no use to this kind of character. Only the legendary divine objects could be of some help to these powerhouses. This pink fruit could actually extend the life of the Crimson Dragon for 50 years. If it was a normal person, how many years would that be? It was indeed a priceless treasure. The Crimson Dragon old man had been trapped by the Emperor's formation for 1,500 years. He was already around 3,000 years old, and his lifespan was reaching its end. To him, this item was definitely the most precious. Can this fruit increase cultivation? This was what Yi Fan wanted to know the most. The mortal essence fruit is even more precious than the divine source, but you can't eat it carelessly, because it is extremely poisonous and needs to be dissolved first. Only the fragrance has a magical effect, and it should be able to increase one's cultivation, but no one will waste it like that. The Crimson Dragon old man's words were very obvious. Those who sought this fruit were all antiques, and they definitely weren't looking for it to increase cultivation. In different people's hands, its value is different. Right now, it is worth hundreds of thousands of kilograms of source in my eyes, but in the hands of the old saint who only has a few years left, it is much more precious. The Crimson Dragon old man floated away. Li Heishui spoke telepathically, "Hundreds of thousands of kilograms of source, you gave it to him just like that? Do you know who he is?" "The Crimson Dragon Taoist, the one who almost killed the Alcade Saint last time. He is a super terrifying existence." "What, it's him?" Li Heishui was shocked. He already knew that the old man's identity wasn't ordinary, but he didn't expect it to be so terrifying. This was a giant who could do whatever he wanted in the Eastern Barren Land. Yi Fan said telepathically, "Didn't he say that he will be in the Holy City recently? If there is anything, you can go to the stone square in the Holy Land to find him. This is a great help. I might directly enter the Heavenstone Garden of one of the Holy Lands. If there is too much of a commotion, I will need him to suppress it." Li Heishui nodded and said, "I am also a little worried that you will gamble too much and cause a big problem. Today I met the Crimson Dragon Taoist by chance. What a pleasant surprise. Old man, please take some source." Yi Fan said to the last gatekeeper of the Heavenly Jade Holy Land. "This isn't my source, I can't take it. You have already paid a lot when you bought the stones." The old man was hunched and weak. He supported himself with his walking stick and shook his head. Yi Fan rolled up his sleeves and put away a large pile of source, but he left a small portion and walked out with Li Heishui. "Today's harvest is very big. 15,000 kilograms of source. If this goes on, you will be able to gather all the source you need in a month." On the way, Yi Fan asked Li Heishui which auction house had the best reputation in the Divine City. "There are 7 big auction houses in the Divine City. I feel that Sky Demon Palace's treasure tower is not bad." Li Heishui pointed to the sky and said, "There, it's in the sky of this area." It was a majestic sky tower, majestic and towering. It was Sky Demon Palace's treasure tower. "What do you want to auction?" Li Heishui couldn't help but ask. "I want to auction half a fruit, but I must be anonymous. I can't let others know." "What fruit? Don't tell me it's the same as the pink fruit." Li Heishui was curious. Yi Fan took out a jade box. After opening it, there was half a tattered fruit inside. A faint fragrance wafted out, and one could clearly see some teeth marks on it. "Why do I feel that it's really similar to the fruit just now?" Li Heishui was shocked and revealed a doubtful expression. "Why do there seem to be teeth marks?" "It's the fruit just now. It was bitten by a dog." This was the pink fruit that was bitten by the Black Emperor. After the matter, Yi Fan kept it. He didn't throw it away because he felt that it might be of great use. When he understood what had happened, Li Heishui almost vomited blood. He shouted, "This prodigal dog bit off 200,000 kilograms of source in one bite. It really should be skinned alive and eaten." Yi Fan was also very depressed. Having so much source bitten off by a greedy big dog, anyone would be speechless. The medicinal power had dissipated. In this state, it could at most be auctioned for 20 to 30,000 kilograms of source. He thought for a moment and said, "Now is not a good time to auction it. Wait until the Holy Lands have attacked Purple Mountain and suffered heavy casualties before selling it. No, wait until a Holy Lord is about to die to auction it. F***ck, can't you be more shameless? Auctioning a fruit eaten by a dog for a Holy Lord to eat?" Li Heishui was dumbfounded. "Why not? I'm saving their lives. Not only do they have to give me source but they also have to thank me." Yi Fan narrowed his eyes and smiled. "Little Yi, you have a bright future." Li Heishui patted his shoulder and smiled. "I'm waiting for that moment. Just thinking about it makes me happy." On the ancient streets of the divine city, people came and went without end. Both sides of the street were filled with heavenly palaces. At this moment, the two of them weren't going to the stone squares of the Holy Lands because it was very shocking to spend money there. It wasn't that young Master Yuan couldn't go in, but Yi Fan's ambition was too great. He wanted to go to the Holy Lands to gamble on rare treasures and wondrous sources. He didn't want to leave his name there prematurely because of his initial accumulation. In the following days, Yi Fan went to the smaller stone squares to carry out the so-called primitive accumulation. However, these so-called small stone gambling squares were also palatial gardens, many times larger than the biggest stone squares in the oases. For 8 days, Yi Fan left early and returned late, spending most of his time in the small stone squares in the southeast corner of the divine city. During these 8 days he constantly bought source stones and cut them himself, collecting more than 5,000 kilograms of source stones. Li Heishui's jaw almost dropped. This was too shocking for him. He was so envious that he was drooling. For other cultivators, this was a huge amount of wealth that could be squandered as much as they wanted. They might not even use this much in their entire lives. However, for Yi Fan this was only a fraction of what he had. It was far from enough. He had a long way to go. He frowned. Even though this speed was shocking, it would still take more than 2 years to gather all the source stones he needed. Moreover, he couldn't do anything during this process. He had to put all his energy into stone gambling. "It seems that I really need to go to the Heaven Stone Gardens of the Holy Lands to gamble on rare treasures and exotic source stones." The Heaven Stone Gardens of the Holy Lands were very special. One couldn't buy the stones and cut them themselves. They could only cut the stones there because the people of the Holy Lands wanted to observe and summarize their experience. This was a hard and fast rule and no one knew when it had started. Some people guessed that it was because the Genesis Heaven Masters of the past had made the Holy Land suffer a lot, and they had ended up with this Genesis technique. In fact, after so many years, the Genesis techniques of the Holy Lands had indeed improved a lot. Most people with profound attainments in Genesis techniques might not be able to compare to them. Over the past few months, Yi Fan had imprinted the Book of Source Heaven into every inch of his flesh and blood. Even when he entered the Holy City and was busy with stone gambling, he didn't stop studying it. It could be said that his Genesis technique had reached an amazing level. Even the stones that contained source stones could almost be seen. "From today onwards, I will begin to sweep the lands of the great sage." "You're finally going?" "That's right. I can't wait." Yi Fan made up his mind. On the 9th day Yi Fan and Li Heishui came to the Dao One Holy Land. They had heard that there were 8 madmen who had been causing quite a ruckus recently, saying that they wanted to win the Dao One Holy Land Saintus. The 2 of them wanted to fish in troubled waters. The young Taoist priest of the Dao Yi Holy Land had left a deep impression on Yi Fan. She had purified thousands of evil people with her heavenly voice and the words infinite celestial being. He wanted to see who dared to be so unscrupulous and unafraid of the Holy Lands. If they could join forces, it would be a good idea to let these 8 go to the other Holy Lands to stir up trouble. The Dao Yi Holy Land was surrounded by towering ancient trees that sprinkled a large area of shade. The Taoist temple was very quiet. In the luxurious divine city, there was a sense of returning to simplicity. In the mortal world this was like a pure land. The Taoist temple flickered with a faint golden light under the sunlight, looking incomparably holy. This Taoist temple occupied a large area, hidden in the grass and trees. As soon as they got close, Yi Fan saw 2 familiar people. It was the great Xia prince and the little nun in white. Beside them there were some people following them. It seemed that they were not ordinary young people. This time, is your highness going to gamble with Jin Qishao of the Gold family or with Yao Yuekong of the Sky Demon Palace? Someone asked. There's no rush. Let's see who those 8 freaks are. I've heard of them for a long time, but I haven't seen them, the great Xia Prince answered. His black hair was like a waterfall and his eyes were like torches. One of them saw Yi Fan walking over and couldn't help but laugh. Oh, this country bumpkin is actually here. Is he going to stare at a watermelon stone again? Brother Wu, do you know this young man? Someone asked. I've seen him in a small gambling den. He actually foolishly bought a pile of watermelon stones and ran away happily, Wu Ziming teased. Hearing this, the others immediately laughed, including the great Xia Prince and the little nun who couldn't help but smile. He is the head disciple of the 5 Elements Palace. His name is Wu Ziming, Li Heishui said to Yi Fan. Through his introduction, Yi Fan learned that this group of people were disciples of some big sections. Even if they couldn't compare to the great Xia Prince, their status was still extremely high. With a teasing smile, Wu Ziming waved at Yi Fan and teased, Do you want to buy watermelon stones from the Dao One sacred land today? What's wrong with watermelon stones? Li Heishui asked. Everyone immediately burst into laughter. Wu Ziming shook his head and said sarcastically, Even if you can cut out the source stones, they are just a few seeds. The source particles are pitifully small. Do you understand source stones? Coming here is a disgrace to the Daoi Holy Land. Young man, go back quickly. This is not a place for you. Someone shook his head and teased. Don't come with me. In a while you will pick up watermelon stones behind me. I will leave them for you. Wu Ziming laughed loudly. Many people couldn't help but laugh. The great Xia Prince also smiled and shook his head. What's wrong with watermelon stones? Why don't I bet watermelon stones on you guys? Li Heishui had great confidence in Yi Fan's source technique and called out to those people. Did you hear that? Someone wants to bet watermelon stones with us. 2 bumpkins, I really don't know what to say, Wu Ziming laughed and said sarcastically, Let's go pick watermelon stones behind me today. The great Xia Prince couldn't help but laugh. Ziming, you guys are bullying us. Wu Ziming teased, It's not that we are bullying them, it's that they want us to make fun of them. If we don't bully them, they won't do it themselves. Yi Fan said to Li Heishui, These birdmen, prepare to collect the source stones later. Chapter 330. The upper steps were green with moss, the grass was green with curtains, and the ancient trees covered the Taoist temple. It was quiet and peaceful. There were many people entering and exiting the stone square, but there was no noise. It was quiet and natural, giving people a feeling of returning to nature. Someone in Wu Ziming's group teased, Young man, you've never seen a stone square before, right? Take a good look and follow behind us to pick watermelon stones. Haha. The group laughed. A group of sheep waiting to be slaughtered, Li Heishui replied contemptuously. Black brat, who are you talking about? This group of people all had high statuses. Being looked down upon by the dark-faced Li Heishui, many people gave him sidelong glances. Of course I'm talking about you guys. Is there anyone else who wants to bet with us? Li Heishui shouted. His skin was dark and he looked very simple. This kind of provocation was especially lethal. Black brat, are you challenging us? How many sources do you have to bet with us? This group of people was only teasing them before and didn't take them seriously at all. Of course I have a lot of sources. I'm just afraid you guys can't afford to lose. Li Heishui looked simple and honest. Someone mocked, How many sources is a lot of sources? 50 kilograms. Li Heishui raised his head. The group laughed. Many people shook their heads, feeling that he was cute and overly simple. You have the nerve to enter the Dao One Holy Land with 50 kilograms of sources. I advise you to go back to where you came from. Don't embarrass yourself. Black brat, you look so simple and cute. We won't bully you anymore. Hurry up and leave. Why are you telling them to leave? This is too fun. This black brat is a treasure. Don't you guys find it fun to let them follow you? That's right, this black brat is quite funny. It's good to let him relieve his boredom. Relieve your boredom? Can you guys afford to lose? Li Heishui continued to challenge them. Black brat, you're just asking to be bullied, aren't you? Let's bet. We'll bet with you. Wu Ziming mocked, These 2 silly brats are quite interesting. Since we have nothing to do, we'll play with them later. Yi Fan transmitted his voice to Li Heishui, You dragged everyone in, aren't you afraid of causing trouble? Originally he wanted to slaughter a few fat sheep, but Li Heishui looked simple and honest, intending to trap everyone in the trap. Li Heishui said, It's fine as long as your Genesis techniques are good enough. We are destined to make a huge gamble in the Divine City. Sooner or later we will attract attention. We might as well suppress some people as early as possible. What are you going to use? Yi Fan asked. Li Heishui didn't come with his real appearance, otherwise as the descendant of a bandit, he would attract some trouble. He was very confident and said, "Don't worry, I have a black iron token in my hand. If I show it, it will be enough to scare those people. In the future, there will not be similar people who will cause trouble for me. Today I will take the opportunity to blackmail them." They passed through 5 stone gardens in a row. There weren't many precious stones on the periphery, so the price was naturally very cheap. There was no way this group of people would stop here. They weren't interested in them at all. The cobblestone path was very secluded. After passing through a large ancient forest, they came to a place with abundant vegetation. The garden was beautiful and lush. Sky Demon Palace's young master Yao Yuekong is up ahead. Should we go and greet him? Forget it, I believe that Gold Clan's Jin Qishao is not far away. The two are like fire and water. They will most likely fight here. If we go now, we will be asking for trouble. Ahead, beside a flowing spring, Yao Yuekong was choosing stones with the company of a few people. "Hey brat, there's a watermelon stone here, do you want it?" Someone teased, kicking a head-sized stone out from the grass. "You won't go back on your words with us, will you?" Li Heishui asked seriously. "What a joke, we won't go back on our words. You have so little source, what can you do with it?" They stopped here. The garden was very quiet and there were blue god trees everywhere. The branches were dense and the leaves were sky blue. It was a very dreamy color and even the tree trunks were sparkling like blue crystals. Other than that, there were vines crawling all over the place. The flowers were not big, but they were very fragrant, giving this place a kind of poetic charm. "I still don't believe it, no, I have to call some witnesses." Li Heishui suddenly shouted at the top of his lungs, "Stone gambling peak duel, come and watch." "Hey brat, what are you shouting for? Don't shout in Dao E Stone Square." "Stupid brat, you took it seriously. You think you can gamble with us?" The dozen or so people all had different expressions. They didn't take it seriously, they originally wanted to tease the two, but they didn't expect Li Heishui to do this. Dao E Stone Square was full of cultivators. Many people looked over, not knowing what was going on. The princes and princesses of Central State's eternal dynasty, Grand Xia. Some people were surprised, they immediately recognized the handsome prince of Grand Xia and the pure white-clothed nun. The Grand Xia royal family had people buying rare stones in the Divine City all year round, so people were not unfamiliar with them. There's also the head disciple of Five Elements Palace, Wu Ziming, and the son of Disillusionment Palace's head, Li Chongtian. Many people were surprised, the people around the Grand Xia prince all had great backgrounds, they were all disciples of the great sects. Many people walked over. "Peak battle of stone gambling, everyone please be witnesses." Li Heishui shouted with all his might. The people in the neighboring stone gardens knew that the Grand Xia prince and the others were here, they all gathered. "Hey brat, you really are looking for trouble, I won't feel comfortable if I don't bully you." Li Chongtian and the others were a bit annoyed. Soon, even Sky Demon Palace's young master Yao Yuekong walked over, his purple robe fluttering in the wind. The surrounding people couldn't help but open up a path for him. "It's really starting?" Li Heishui mumbled. "Who is this hey brat, he dares to gamble with these people?" The surrounding people were surprised. Wu Ziming mocked, "You guys go ahead and cut the stones, we will double the amount you cut out." "You said that?" Li Heishui said seriously, "You don't want to gamble with us as long as we cut out the source, you will double the amount." Wu Ziming mocked, "Stupid to the extreme, hurry up and cut the stones, 25 kilograms of source will be used up in one go." "Ah hey brat, here's a watermelon stone for you guys." One of them laughed and kicked a wash basin-sized stone over. "Young man, there's more here, hurry up and move it." Another teased. "There's also a top-grade watermelon stone here, your favorite, haha." The others laughed and kicked the third watermelon stone over. The surrounding people understood what was going on and laughed. "Are you sure that these rotten stones really have source?" Li Heishui secretly transmitted, he was afraid that he would really become a laughing stock. Yi Fan secretly replied, "I originally planned to take a look around the other stone gardens, but one of the stones they kicked over really had a large amount of origin energy, so I didn't have to choose it myself." "Serves them right." "That's great. I want to enjoy their expressions later." Li Heishui chuckled. "Hey brat, what are you laughing about? Hurry up and cut your watermelon." "Hey, there's a watermelon stone here. I'll give you 9, making it an extreme number." Looking at the 9 watermelon stones on the ground, Wu Ziming and Li Chongtian were full of disdain, and they couldn't help but laugh. Everyone around shook their heads. How could he choose a watermelon stone? He really didn't know anything about source. After Yi Fan bought the stones, he picked them up and smashed them on the ground. He didn't cut them, and many people were shocked. Pacha, pacha, 6 watermelon stones shattered one after another. Inside there was nothing but white. You're asking for trouble? Li Chongtian coldly laughed. You want to cut out source from a watermelon stone? You're a disgrace to Dao One Holy Land. Crack. When the 7th source fell to the ground, a green light shot out. It was fresh and tender, and it made people feel as if their eyes were sparkling. It was full of life energy. Green leaf stone. Someone was shocked and said, they really cut out source, and it's a xenogenic source. One stone like that is worth 5 pounds of pure source. The green stone that looked like a leaf was only an inch long. It was green and shiny, and it looked like a green leaf. Haha. Li Heishui laughed and said, xenogenic source, 10 pounds per person. Give it to me. He reached out his hand and asked for it. A dozen people were disgusted. They hadn't thought they'd really cut out source. 10 pounds of source was nothing to them, but taking it out like that made them feel uncomfortable. The watermelon stone has a xenogenic source? It's like a blind cat finding a dead mouse, someone said. It's useless to say anything else. You guys aren't going to back out, are you? Li Heishui reached out his hand. Wu Ziming pinched his nose and gave him 280 pounds of source to pay for a dozen people. Gotcha. Yi Fan broke the 8th stone, but there was nothing inside. Throw out another one of them said with a cold laugh. I don't believe a rotten watermelon stone can have a good source. Crack. The 9th stone was thrown to the ground by Yi Fan, and it broke into pieces. In an instant, purple light rushed out, and a purple mist filled the air. The spiritual energy was so thick that it couldn't be dissolved. Xenogenic amethyst source, someone shouted. Yi Fan squatted down and peeled off layers of stone. The purple light became even brighter, and the ground was shining brightly, shooting in all directions. So many watermelon seeds. Everyone was shocked. Each amethyst source was only the size of a fingernail, and it really looked like watermelon seeds. There were more than 40 of them embedded in the stone. Amethyst is a xenogenic source, and one of these is worth 15 pounds of pure source. However, there are so many inside a stone the size of a human head. It's worth 1,500 pounds of pure source. On the side, many people revealed strange expressions. They all felt that it was unbelievable. Ha ha ha. Li Heishui laughed. Wu Ziming's face was full of bad luck, as if he had eaten a dead toad. The other dozen people also had ugly expressions. It's too beautiful. It's truly a top-grade watermelon stone. Someone on the side exclaimed, it gave birth to nearly 50 amethyst seeds. It's amazing. Yi Fan peeled off the stone. There were exactly 49 amethyst seeds, a very wonderful number. He held it in his palm and it was a whole handful. Purple light flashed and it was resplendent. It made his palm look like it was covered in a purple mist. Everyone, there's nothing to say. One person has 3,000 pounds of source, and the 14 of you have a total of 42,000 pounds. Li Heishui laughed heartily. At this moment, everyone was stunned. 40,000 pounds of source was an extremely huge number. At the very least, for many people present, it was enough to make them faint. Heavens, more than 40,000 pounds. This black brat and this delicate and pretty youth's luck is too heaven-defying. They threw 9 watermelon stones and suddenly obtained more than 40,000 pounds of source. There's really no justice in this world. When luck comes, it can't be stopped. Did you see just now? The 9 watermelon stones were all kicked over by Wu Ziming and Li Chongtian. The two of them didn't even choose their stones. That's right, I saw it too. Wu Ziming and Li Chongtian kicked it over themselves. Even the heavens are helping us. Wu Ziming heard these words and had the urge to vomit blood. Li Chongtian wasn't any better. He wanted to beat someone up. This was too much of a waste. Li Heishui was the complete opposite of them. With a face full of smiles, he moved forward and carefully observed the expressions of the dozen people before laughing loudly. Ha ha ha. Chapter 331. Watermelon stones had lines like watermelon patterns on the outside. Even if one could cut out the source, the amount would be very small. They were like melon seeds and were mostly granular. This was the origin of its name. Of course, things were not absolute. A long time ago, someone cut out dozens of melon seeds and shook the entire city. At this moment, there were 49 amethyst melon seeds. Even though they could not compare to the divine source granules, it was still shocking. Now it was Li Heishui's turn to laugh. Wu Ziming and the others' faces darkened. 40,000 kilograms of source was too much. Noble guests, don't just stand there. Give us the source 40,000 kilograms. Your generosity has moved us. Yi Fan and Li Heishui walked forward and began to collect the source. They extended their hands to the people. Wu Ziming and Li Chongtian were incomparably uncomfortable. They felt as if they had flown up to the 9 heavens and were suddenly dragged into a latrine pit by a rake. They originally wanted to tease the two and treat them as a joke, but in the end they became the spendthrifts. For no reason, each of them had to take out 3,000 kilograms of source. It was truly infuriating. The dozen people felt white smoke rising from their heads as if they were on fire. This was too vexing. They were just teasing 2 bumpkins, but in the end they had to use up so much source. Even the air they exhaled was filled with anger. Damn, is there any justice in this world? Watermelon stones, they actually threw out the amethyst source. Motherf asterisk cur, I want to beat someone up. A disciple of a great sect mumbled with a wretched expression. 3,000 kilograms of source, Motherf asterisk cur, half of my fortune is gone just like that. F asterisk king amethyst source. Another disciple was more boorish and angrily cursed. Wu Ziming's face was ashen. If he and Li Chongtian hadn't been holding on to these 2 bumpkins, they wouldn't have been treated like donkeys for no reason. Brother Wu, are you sick? Why is your face even more purple than the amethyst source? Li Heishui shook his head and moved closer. He had a simple and honest expression as he asked with concern. Little He, don't pretend to be innocent after getting a bargain. Wu Ziming's nose was spewing fire. He felt his nose was about to bleed. He swung his sleeve and threw the 3,000 kilograms of source on the ground. They were all disciples of the great sections. They had more sources than 2 Fei, but they only had 2 or 3 cubic meters. Today they had to hand over 1 cubic meter. Everybody felt pain in their hearts. Everyone's veins were throbbing, and they unwillingly threw Yuan to the ground. They were all people of status, and they could not deny it in front of so many people. They could not afford to lose that person. Thank you, Your Royal Highness. Yi Fan personally took the 1,500 kilograms of source energy from the great Xia prince. Then he turned around to look at the little nun in white and said with a smile, "Little sister, do you have a spring?" The little nun in white pouted, her big pure eyes filled with innocence. She was inexplicably dragged into this mess, completely inviting an undeserved calamity. First, she didn't make fun of the two, and second, she didn't have a gambling source, yet she actually wanted to hand over the source. The great Xia prince frowned, not liking to see Yi Fan smiling at his sister. He directly blocked him and threw out a Fang Yuan. Sizzle! There was a pile of origin energy on the ground that flickered with light. Spiritual energy surged and brilliant colors shone. This kind of sparkling thing was truly bewitching. Haha! Li Heishui laughed loudly. The dozen or so people's faces all darkened. They were filled with a belly full of anger. This was 2F asterisk king unjust. Yi Fan did not care about this. He rolled up his sleeves and collected all the origin energy. In an instant he had obtained more than 40,000 kilograms of origin energy, and he was one step closer to breaking through. This time I will really gamble with you. Do you dare? Wu Ziming asked in a deep voice. Why not? But do you still have origin energy? Yi Fan asked indifferently. Wu Ziming opened his mouth. Just now many people did not have enough origin energy, so they borrowed from each other and finally gathered 42,000 kilograms. They could not possibly bring all of their origin energy with them. How can we gamble without origin energy? Now it was Li Heishui's turn to look down on them, his dark face full of ridicule. Hey brat, don't be too proud. Damn it, how am I black? This is called manliness, do you understand? Li Heishui did not feel that he was black at all and loudly argued. The surrounding people were speechless. Someone mumbled, "You are already so black and you still say you are not black. I have origin energy, I can gamble with you." At the scene, only the great Xia prince did not care about the gains and losses just now and walked forward. How much origin energy do you have? Li Heishui asked directly. 3 sides. The surrounding people gasped. The great Xia prince was indeed confident, worthy of being one of the 4 great immortal empires' inheritors of Central State. He carried more than 10,000 kilograms of origin energy with him. Okay, no problem, I will gamble with you. Yi Fan smiled and nodded. The great Xia prince walked like a dragon and tiger, surrounded by dragon chi. He was tall and straight, very intimidating. He was the first to walk towards the deep stone garden. The little nun in white was very dissatisfied. She was inexplicably asked to go to one side by Yi Fan. She felt very wronged, it had nothing to do with her. She wrinkled her delicate nose and clenched her small fist, waving it at Yi Fan. Then she nimbly turned around and left with her brother. Yi Fan and Li Heishui did not care and followed. Everyone followed, knowing that there was going to be a good show to watch. Sky Demon Palace's young master Yao Yuekong also followed. He was dressed in purple and had deep eyes. He was the focus of attention. His status was comparable to the great Xia prince and he was surrounded by many people. Early in the morning the sun shone down, dyeing the edges and corners of the Taoist temple with a layer of holy light. Walking here made people feel a sense of peace, as if their bodies and minds had been baptized. The crowd followed the stone path, passing through a few ancient forests and several Taoist temples. They walked all the way to the 18th level of the stone garden. Only then did the great Xia prince stop. The stones here were quite expensive. 1 kilogram of stones was equivalent to 10 kilograms of origin energy. Stones were more expensive than origin energy, and ordinary people could not afford it. After the 18th level of the stone garden, the stakes were no longer pure origin energy but more precious things. The cost was huge. However, this made Yi Fan quite satisfied. If it was pure origin energy, he really did not know how long he would have to wait to gather what he needed. And these precious stones, if cut out of them, would definitely be extremely precious and could speed up his origin energy collection. How about here? The great Xia prince asked. Since we're already here, why not go to the Heaven Series stone garden? Yi Fan said with a smile. Hiss. Many people sucked in a breath of cold air. The Heaven Series stone garden's wondrous stones were frighteningly expensive. Very few people of the younger generation went there. Only the older generation with great backgrounds frequented it. That is a place where a stone is worth 500 kilograms of origin energy. Many people went there to try their luck, but in the end they all lost until their faces turned pale. There are even some stones that are only a few kilograms, but they are worth 5,000 kilograms of origin energy. Even the grand elders of the various holy lands feel the pinch. The surrounding people discussed. When the Heaven Series stone garden was mentioned, many people were excited and helpless. The threshold was too high and they could not afford it at all. Not everyone understood. Someone asked in confusion, "It's so ridiculously expensive, isn't it too frightening? There are people who go to choose stones like this?" You don't understand. Those are all wondrous stones. If something is cut out, it will definitely be a rare treasure with astonishing value. That's right, once a treasure is cut out, not to mention tens of thousands of kilograms of origin energy, even hundreds of thousands of kilograms of origin energy might not be able to block it. A few people who went in and out of the stone square all year round said this, causing many people to suck in a breath of cold air. Since that is the case, why don't the Holy Lands cut it out themselves? Why are they doing this, allowing others to choose stones? Someone asked. Do you think the Holy Lands are willing to do this? They are also unable to confirm whether there are treasures inside the stones. In order to maximize their profits, they place them here and sell them at sky-high prices, allowing people to gamble. That is indeed the case. This is the fundamental reason for the existence of the Holy Land stone squares. The great Xia prince only hesitated for a moment before happily agreeing. Alright, since that is the case, let's go to the Heaven Series stone garden. At this moment the people present were in an uproar. They knew that there would definitely be a great deal today. Are you sure you want to go to the Heaven Series stone garden? Wu Ziming, Li Chongtian and the rest were all incomparably shocked. Now it was Li Heishui's turn to be arrogant. He said calmly, "You guys have never gambled before, right? This time you have to broaden your horizons. We are actually being looked down upon by these two country bumpkins." Wu Ziming and the rest were as depressed as they could be. All of them were extremely furious. "Hey brat, next time I will decide who wins or loses with you," one of the dozen or so people said. "I am not at all black-hearted. Don't mention the word black-hearted to me. Also, next time bring enough origin source. This gambling sage will bet until your faces turn green." "Hey brat, you are too insolent. You are the black-hearted one, your whole family is black-hearted." Li Heishui rolled his eyes and retorted. There was an ancient vine in the Heaven Series stone garden. It was so thick that it made people speechless. It had a diameter of 10 meters. It was like a lying dragon crawling in all directions. This was not a tree, it was just a vine. However, it was so thick. The Dao Yi stone square occupied a large area. Many Taoist temples had its vines. There was also a well next to the ancient vine. It was made of origin stones and the rope had left many marks on it. It was unknown how long this well had existed for. This ancient vine is tens of thousands of years old. Li Heishui introduced it to Yi Fan. According to legend, it was about to transform into a dragon, but it was turned into an ordinary tree by an expert. All of its spiritual chi passed through the ancient well and nourished the stone square. There was another saying. In the divine city, no matter how old a plant was, it could not transform into a demon. The spiritual chi it gathered could only nourish the city. Yao Yuekong, the young master of the demonic race in purple, stepped forward. He had an imposing appearance and the temperament of a demonic god. His sharpness was restrained, and deep in his star-like eyes, one could vaguely feel that he was the only one in the world. Brothers, if you find any treasures later, can you consider auctioning them at my Sky Demon Treasure Palace? No problem. If you find any treasures, I will definitely trouble Brother Yuekong. Since the other party had extended an olive branch, Yi Fan was naturally willing to make friends. The Heaven Series Stone Garden was usually quiet. Not many people came and went, but now it suddenly became lively. The people in the other stone gardens were alarmed. Many people gathered. I thought it was those 8 lunatics. So it's someone else who came to the Heaven Series Stone Garden to choose stones. It's the great Xia Prince who is gambling with others. There will be a good show to watch. There were experts overseeing this place. Ordinary people couldn't enter and could only watch from the outside. Only those who chose stones could enter. After all, the stones here were too precious. There was an old Taoist nun sitting on a praying mat. Her age couldn't be seen. She was motionless. There were 4 or 5 old people inside choosing stones. When the great Xia Prince, the white-robed nun Yi Fan, and Li Heishui walked in, she was motionless like a withered old tree. The others didn't make any noise. They surrounded the Heaven Series Stone Garden and watched quietly. Fortunately, there were no walls. There was only vegetation. Everything could be seen. Yi Fan stepped into the garden and felt the aura of absolute beginning. It was very strong. It was as if he had returned to that night in the Forbidden Zone. They were definitely precious stones. Yi Fan guessed that most of these stones were transported from the Forbidden Zone or were extremely close to it. Although I have walked around the Heaven Series Stone Garden a few times in the past, this is my first time here. Li Heishui transmitted his voice. Yi Fan replied with a smile, there will be many opportunities in the future. The lands of the great sage are all waiting for us. It was clearly not the first time the great Xia Prince and the white-robed nun came here. They seemed to be very familiar with each other. Many people didn't understand why the great Xia Prince always brought his sister. Only Yi Fan could guess that the great Xia Princess was in Buddhism. She might be cultivating in the secular world. There were many green bamboos in the Heaven Series Stone Garden, which added a sense of tranquility. There weren't many stones here, but they were all in their respective positions. The people of the Dao One Sacred Land would check them every day because they were too precious. However, these stones were placed very naturally. They were either under the green bamboos, beside the gurgling spring, or between the green vines. The stones and the scenery blended together in harmony. It was as if heaven and earth had returned to one and returned to nature. Master Yuan, who was doing his best, followed them and kept introducing them to the people around them. Even though Yi Fan was mentally prepared, he was still shocked. Many of the stones weren't big, but they were worth thousands of kilograms of source. What was even more ridiculous was that some stones were worth thousands of kilograms of source. He couldn't bear it. Master, this is too ridiculous. Can anyone afford it? Yi Fan said. Master Source said, there are very few young people here. They are all prepared for some old antiques. You guys can't afford it. To those people, they are willing to give everything they have if they can fight for a hope and a future from here. What treasures have been cut out here? Li Heishui asked. Divine Source has been cut out and some rare treasures have been peeled out. It's amazing. Master Source smiled. This stone is worth 50,000 kilograms of source. Li Heishui exclaimed. A stone that was so expensive that it couldn't be accepted was more than 50 kilograms. It lay quietly in the bamboo forest, and there was a Dao rhyme flowing around it. This is ridiculous. Are you guys selling stones? You're selling Divine Source. Li Heishui mumbled. It's worth that price, Master Source said. Li Heishui sent a voice transmission. This stone is indeed special. It seems to have a Dao rhyme. My spiritual senses are naturally sharp, so I sensed it. Yi Fan shook his head and said, this stone is hard to say. Even I can't see it clearly. It might not be the same on the outside. Maybe it was cut from another main stone with a Dao rhyme. It's not easy to choose. Otherwise, why didn't anyone choose it after being here for so long? That's true. The Dao rhyme is moving, but no one dares to touch it. There must be a reason. After all, the old antiques here are all more cunning than foxes. Li Heishui understood. After Yi Fan looked at the stone materials, his heart trembled. The Holy Land's Heaven series stone garden was truly extraordinary. He had to be cautious. This stone. Li Heishui was shocked. They saw another stone. It was only a foot long, but it had 9 orifices. It looked like a stone person. Is this natural or polished? Li Heishui asked. Of course it's a natural stone. Otherwise, how could it be worth 45,000 kilograms? Master Source said. Can you see anything? Li Heishui secretly asked Yi Fan. I can't see through this stone. Don't touch it for now. Yi Fan shook his head. Have you chosen? The great Xia prince asked from nearby. He had already chosen a stone. It was only 7 or 8 kilograms, but its price was as high as 2 square yuan. Your Highness, you only have slightly more than 5,000 kilograms. Now that you've spent 2 square yuan, you only have 1 square yuan left. How are you going to bet with us? Li Heishui asked. I still have more. The little nun in white said. Her big black eyes glanced at the two of them. Don't cry when you lose later. Yi Fan teased. The little nun in white wrinkled her nose and rolled her eyes at him. The great Xia prince snorted coldly. Yi Fan walked back and said, We've also chosen. It's this one. He chose a very large stone. It was as tall as a person, but the price was not too ridiculous. It was 1,500 kilograms. Although it was still very expensive compared to the stones in the garden, such a large stone was the lowest price. Around the stone garden, the onlookers were all very shocked. The two of them had spent too much. However, Wu Ziming still said, Do you really think you can get rare treasures by choosing a large stone? You really don't know anything. Li Chongtian also sneered, In the Heaven Stone Garden, choosing stones like this is a joke. Li Heishui directly said in disdain, You've already lost all your source, why are you still giving pointers? Learn well. Let's see what you can get. Wu Ziming and Li Chongtian sneered. That's good to see, learn slowly. Li Heishui laughed loudly. Yi Fan looked at the great Xia prince and said, Your Highness, this is 10,000 kilograms of source. Whoever gets the highest value wins, okay? That's it, cut the stone. The great Xia prince nodded. Okay. Yi Fan answered. This time he was very careful. He personally cut the stone and slowly peeled off the outer layer. Are you confident? Li Heishui secretly transmitted his voice. This stone should be able to cut out something. I feel that there is a rare item inside, but if I don't cut it out, I can't be sure. Yi Fan replied. Gotcha. The outer layer slowly fell off. Yi Fan carefully cut down. This time it was not as casual as when he threw the watermelon stones. Each cut was very careful, afraid of cutting something. Gotcha. Suddenly Yi Fan lightly slashed down again. The stone naturally split open and a dazzling light shot out. It was extremely dazzling, and then a streak of light rushed out, flying into the sky. Heavens, what is that? Why is it flying? Many people cried out in surprise. It looks like a figure. That's right, a person flew out. Outside the Heaven Stone Garden, the surrounding people were in an uproar. Flying immortal in the stone. It really looks like a figure. Yi Fan was really shocked. At the same time, the old nun also opened her eyes. Chapter 332. A streak of dazzling divine light illuminated the entire sky, making it look as translucent as a piece of crystal. Li Heishui made his move immediately. He charged towards the sky and intercepted this humanoid figure. Meanwhile, Yi Fan was even faster. His hands moved and then he fiercely pressed down. Strands of power shot out from his fingers, completely sealing this cracked stone. At the same time, the old nun sitting on the praying mat opened her eyes and shot out 2 beams of light. She stretched out her hand towards the sky. Pop. The humanoid figure shattered with a soft sound. Li Heishui charged past without grabbing anything. The old nun waved her hand in the air and a curtain of light appeared, enveloping the Heaven Stone Garden and sealing this space to prevent any divine objects from escaping. Everyone was stunned. They knew that there must have been a peerless treasure that was priceless. Just what is it? I haven't seen such a thing in so many years. It actually produced a flying immortal in stone. Must be an incredible treasure. A conservative estimate would be at least a few 100,000 kilograms of origin source. Unbelievable. Its value must be comparable to divine source. Such a heart-stirring treasure. I really want to see what it is immediately. That's a humanoid silhouette. Could it be an ancient creature? Everyone discussed excitedly as if they had found a rare treasure. They all stretched their necks to look at the stone garden in the light curtain. Flying immortal in stone was a strange sight. Since ancient times, it was an auspicious omen for stone cutters. Once it appeared, it meant that something extraordinary was about to be born. Ha ha ha. Li Heishui laughed loudly and descended from the sky. It was just a false alarm. Many people did not know what flying immortal in stone was before, but now they understood. Someone explained after exclaiming, "It must be a peerless treasure. Don't make a mistake." Li Heishui was very excited. He rubbed his hands and moved closer. The old people who were selecting stones in the Heavenstone Garden also came over. They were the first to shout about flying immortal in stone. They stared at the stone sealed by Yi Fan with fervent eyes. It's an auspicious sign that hasn't appeared for many years. The young master of the Sky Demon Palace, Yao Yuekong's eyes shone brightly as he stared ahead without blinking. At this moment, the prince of the Great Xia and the little nun in white also walked forward. Such a precious stone was enough to tempt anyone. Even the old Taoist nun stood up and silently walked over to the side to quietly observe. It had been many years since this type of strange phenomenon had happened. As for the white-haired Master Yuan, he was so excited that he was trembling as he paced back and forth. This was a scene that all stone cutters yearned for the most. Hurry up and cut it open. Hurry up and cut it open. The people outside the stone garden were itching to see what was inside. There won't be any mistakes when you cut it open like this, right? Will the divine item inside leak its spiritual energy or fly away? Li Heishui asked with some concern. He had heard many legends, so he naturally guessed that the item in the stone was a treasure of that level. It was as valuable as divine source. Don't worry. I have the purest jade here. It will be enough to seal the spiritual energy and prevent it from leaking. An old man next to him handed over a small white jade cauldron with a lid. It must have been prepared specifically for situations like this. The old Taoist nun opened her mouth and said, "Don't worry, cut the stone. I have sealed the stone garden. Even if there is something incredible inside, it won't get lost." Yi Fan took away the strands of god power, and the cracked stone returned to normal. There was no more god light coming out of it. It lay quietly on the green grass. Ketchup. Yi Fan carefully cut down and peeled off the stone layer by layer. Not long after, a crystal appeared and a cold air came out. It's so cold. Frost appeared on the grass and the temperature of the air dropped. Cold air wafted in all directions. It is a xenogenic source, ice origin. The great Xia prince said. After the stone was peeled off, a piece of snow jade the size of a fist was revealed. It was like a piece of ice embedded in the stone, and it was as big as a fist. Master Yuan said, "This ice origin is worth 500 kilograms of pure origin, but it can't create a flying immortal in the stone. There must be something else inside. Keep cutting. Hurry up." The people outside the Heavenstone Garden were even more anxious than Yi Fan. Many people were shouting, "Ketchup." Yi Fan continued to carefully peel off the stone. When he followed the cracks to the heart of the stone, the dazzling light shot out again. It was incomparably cold and sparkling at the same time. Many people could smell a rich fragrance as well as an incomparably pure spiritual qi. Good stuff. It must be a treasure. Young man, don't cut this origin. I want it. 80,000 kilograms. What do you think? An old man said. I am willing to pay 90,000 kilograms for this stone. Another old man raised the price excitedly. Yi Fan smiled and said, I want to cut it open and see what is inside. Young man, you have to know that this is very risky. Even if there is a flying immortal in the stone, sometimes it won't be worth much. That's right. This kind of thing has happened before. After cutting it open, there is only a small corner of some treasure. It is far from the expected value. How about this? I am willing to pay 50,000 kilograms. This is all I have. Seniors, we want to cut it ourselves. Yi Fan shook his head. There was obviously something precious inside. How could he sell it just like that? An old man snorted heavily and flicked his sleeves to the side. He didn't say anything else. Old Li, don't show off your disillusionment palace grand elder's prestige here. Another old man laughed. Yi Fan couldn't help but glance at the grand elder. This person should be Li Zhongtian Sr. But even if he was unhappy, he couldn't sell it like this. Continue cutting. No one can behave atrociously here. The old Taoist nun said indifferently. Yi Fan continued to cut. The stone skin fell off and fell to the ground with a rustling sound. Finally, part of the stone core was peeled off. In an instant, a bright light shot out in all directions. A human figure dashed out and circled around the area. A fragrance assailed the nostrils. The light and shadow circled back and forth. It was very dreamy. Heavens, what is that thing? It really cut out a peerless treasure. What heaven-defying luck. It must be a priceless treasure. This black brat and that delicate youth are really heaven-defying. How did they cut out something again? Wu Ziming and the others were furious. They couldn't accept this result. Not long ago they were still mocking them. This was a naked slap in the face. They cut out a divine object and produced a strange scene like the flying immortal in the stone. Are these two bumpkins trying to make me vomit blood? Li Zhongtian was full of anger, but he was also very curious now. He looked forward. Brothers, I will auction it for you in a while. Sky Demon Palace young Lord Yao Yuekong shouted. This was a silvery white light that was incomparably divine. It circled around Yi Fan and danced. The stone core was bright and the fragrance was extremely dazzling. After completely peeling off the stone's skin, a palm-sized ice spring appeared in Yi Fan's hand. It was even bigger than the previous one and was worth more than 1,500 kilograms of ice spring. Of course, this was not the most precious thing. Its true value was reflected in the thing sealed within the ice spring. The light was coming from it. There is a treasure within the ice spring. It is indeed a rare treasure. This is a type of spiritual medicine. Wrong, this should be a divine medicine. Otherwise, how could there be a flying immortal in the stone? A few elders surrounded him and started commenting. They were all incomparably excited. Young man, sell it to me. I will give you a satisfactory price. Is 150 kilograms of ice spring enough? I am Li Yishui from Disillusionment Palace. I will go borrow the ice spring immediately. The senior elder from Disillusionment Palace who snorted coldly just now also said anxiously. The silver holy light finally retracted, revealing the rare treasure within the ice spring. It was indeed a plant. A faint fragrance emanated from the ice spring. What a pity. How could this be? When the divine light retracted and everything within the ice spring was seen clearly, everyone was incomparably disappointed. This was because it was not a complete plant. The crucial part of the plant was missing. Light blue rhizome was sealed within the ice spring. It was crystal clear like a sapphire. There were no leaves on top of the rhizome. What a pity. The crucial part of the herb is missing. A few elders felt extremely regretful and disappointed. No, there is still a part. Look, how can it be so strange? One of the elders was shocked. Yes, there is a part. This is a pair of feet. After looking carefully, everyone present was shocked. This plant was really too special. Above the light blue rhizome was a pair of tubers that looked like feet. It was not very big, only 1 inch long. It was silvery white in color, similar to the ice spring. It was definitely a tuber. It was just that it looked too similar to a human's feet. It made people mistakenly think that it was a pair of broken feet of a little jade man. Legend has it that there was a type of divine medicine in the archaic era that did not grow leaves and was shaped like a human. Could this be that type of divine medicine? It is extremely possible. It has already been extinct for countless years. We only know its shape. As for its specific effects, not many people know about it. Since it is known as a divine medicine, it definitely has inconceivable miraculous effects. It is priceless. The elders were both excited and regretful. It was because this humanoid divine medicine was missing too much. Only the rhizome and a pair of medicinal feet remained. The other parts had disappeared and were not sealed within the ice spring. What a miracle. We can actually see an archaic divine medicine. Only the ice spring and divine ice spring can seal this type of plant. The people outside the stone garden were all shocked. An archaic divine medicine, it was like a fantasy. Everyone was stupefied. Little brother, how about you sell it to me for 40,000 jin of ice spring? An elder spoke. Why did it fall instead of rising? Didn't you all offer 150,000 jin of ice spring just now? Li Heishui was dissatisfied. An elder shook his head and said, just now the radiance was so bright that people couldn't open their eyes and see clearly. Now that the divine splendor has been restrained and revealed, its true form is naturally showing its true value. If it was a complete divine medicine, it would be even more precious than the divine ice spring. Its value is immeasurable. However, it is incomplete. You all saw it too. It is only a pair of medicinal feet, so it is only worth this price. Yi Fan spoke calmly and said, there is no divine medicine in the world today. When the great sage lords reached the end of their lifespans, they could not find it even when they roamed the vast wastelands. There has never been an old divine lord who reappeared in the world. How could this kind of life-changing divine item only be worth 40,000 jin of ice spring? Li Heishui also said, exactly. This is a humanoid divine medicine. Even if you exchange it with a piece of divine ice spring, it still cannot match its value. I, Li Yishui, am willing to offer 50,000 jin of ice spring. The illusionary palace's grand elder spoke. Yi Fan shook his head and did not agree. He sealed the ice spring in the jade artifact, not wanting the spiritual qi to leak out. Li Yishui's expression turned ugly and he said, "Young man, don't be too greedy. A divine medicine that is so incomplete is really not worth that much." "Old man, you are wrong. This is a divine medicine that I cut myself. Whether I sell it or not has nothing to do with greed, right?" Yi Fan said. At this moment, Sky Demon Palace's young Lord Yao Yuekong spoke. "Brothers, can you talk to Dao Yi Sr. and see if he can let me in?" Li Heishui and Yi Fan were naturally happy to let him in. After talking to the old nun, Yao Yuekong walked in with large strides. "Most? I will pay 60,000 jin of ice spring to buy this incomplete medicine." Li Yishui spoke again. Yi Fan suddenly said, "Everyone, you have overlooked a fact. This divine medicine's roots are intact and not damaged. Perhaps it can be revived." "I will pay 80,000 jin of ice spring to buy this divine medicine." The great Xia prince suddenly spoke. The little nun in white beside him also blinked her big eyes with a hopeful expression. "The Dao One Holy Land will pay 50,000 jin of ice spring to buy this rare treasure." The old nun who had been silent suddenly made a shocking price. "Actually, I want to find a place to plant it and see what kind of divine medicine it will bear." Yi Fan was still unmoved. At this moment, the news of the Dao One Holy Land cutting out a divine medicine quickly spread. Miaoyu Nunnery, Moon Tower, the Great Sage's Stone Workshops, and many other sects received the report. Chapter 333. In the present world, the divine medicine was nowhere to be found. The Holy Lands couldn't obtain it, and the dynasties that had existed for hundreds of thousands of years couldn't find it either. When the Eastern Wasteland's old Divine Lord and the Central Continent's old Emperor were at the end of their lifespans, they both chose to appear in the Great Wastelands for that 1 in 10,000 hope. However, there had never been any news of anyone obtaining a divine medicine. Perhaps it could only be found in the Great Life Forbidden Zones, but it wasn't a place humans could go to. The Holy Lands were helpless as well. 110,000 kilograms. The great Xia prince made another high bid. 120,000 kilograms. Two elders called out this price together, deciding to buy it together. "Everyone, it's not that I don't want to sell it, but didn't I just say that we should think of a way to revive such a divine medicine? Otherwise, it will be a loss for the entire Eastern Wasteland." Yi Fan put on a righteous expression. The people present cursed him in their hearts, feeling that he wanted to be an unscrupulous merchant and raise the price. One of the elders shook his head. "As long as the source is cut open, ordinary medicinal plants will turn into ashes and can't exist for long. Even if it's a divine medicine, we have to be careful when using it, not to mention reviving it." The other elder said, "Countless years have passed. Even if this divine medicine has a perfect root, it can't be revived." Yi Fan smiled. "I don't think so. Isn't there a legend that some ancient creatures are sealed in the source? Can they still be revived after cutting open the source? As a divine medicine, it must be different. I think it should be able to revive." Li Heishui chimed in. "That's right, at that time it can bear an undamaged divine medicine. With this immortal root we can harvest it every year." Disillusionment Palace's Grand Elder Li Yishui was unhappy. He said in a low voice, "Not to mention that divine medicine can't be revived. Even if it can, it needs several thousand years to mature. Can you wait that long?" Outside the arena, everyone was stunned. A stock of divine medicine, even though it was damaged, was still so precious. It was even rarer than divine origin after all. What a heaven-defying luck. It makes one jealous. If I could cut out such a treasure, I would definitely pray every day. How many years has it been? No divine medicine has appeared for a long time. Today one was actually cut out of the stone. How shocking. Outside the stone garden, many people were discussing spiritedly, wishing they could swap places with Yi Fan. This was a divine medicine that made people tremble, something that could only be discovered and not sought. 130,000 kilograms of origin source. The great Xia prince once again called out a high price. He didn't try to dissuade them and only spoke with a high price. The little nun in white rolled her big black eyes as she accompanied the prince of Great Xia. It seemed that she really wanted to obtain the human-shaped divine medicine. "What do you want me to say? I really feel that this godly medicine can be revived." Yi Fan sighed. "You want more origin source." Many people cursed in their hearts. 150,000 kilograms. The old Taoist nun from the Dao One Holy Land spoke, her voice cold and emotionless. This. Yi Fan's heart was moved. Even though it was a supreme immortal root, even if it could be planted, it would still take several thousand years for it to mature. He couldn't afford to wait that long. This time, not only were the people outside the stone garden stunned, but even the elders inside the garden were stunned. If the Tao One Holy Land made a move, they would not be able to compete. Can this divine medicine be planted again or not? Li Heishui asked, wanting to stall for time and continue raising the price. The old Taoist nun's voice was calm. I'm already offering the highest price. It's only worth this much. The young master of Sky Demon Palace, Yao Yuekong, had already arrived. His temperament was outstanding. Even though he was a man, he had a bewitching beauty. However, there was no feminine air about him. His eyes were deep like a demon god's. This kind of immortal root is rare and priceless. However, it's difficult to revive it. Only by watering it with a divine spring can it be revived. That's not realistic. If you want to get a divine spring, you'll have to enter the Eastern Barren Forbidden Zones. Grand Elder Li Yishui of Illusion Palace sneered. That's not necessarily true. Maybe the spirit springs in the Eastern Barren can revive it. Li Heishui said. Yifan also smiled. The Holy Land has been passed down for hundreds of thousands of years. If they can revive this immortal root, a few thousand years is nothing to them. There will be endless benefits in the future. Everyone present was speechless. The two of them were echoing each other. It was obvious that they wanted to be profiteers to the end. Yao Yuekong laughed. He was happy to see this. I think you two are in a difficult position. It's hard to decide who to sell it to. I'm afraid of hurting everyone's friendship. I think the best choice is to send this divine herb to the Heaven Fei Treasure Tower and auction it. Makes sense. Li Heishui nodded pretentiously. I agree. Someone outside the stone garden said. Everyone turned around and saw many old people. All of them had white hair and youthful faces. They were hale and hearty, obviously not ordinary people. Miaoyu Nunnery, the Moon Tower, the Great Sage's Stone Workshops, and many other sects had received the news. Their seniors had rushed over. The birth of a divine medicine was definitely a sensational event. Even though it was incomplete, it was still moving. The seniors who didn't have much time left were even more tempted. Many people rushed over as soon as they received the news. When they looked out, they saw a sea of white heads and their gazes were filled with fervor. Although they were all people who didn't have much time left, the age gap was huge. In small sects, people of 300 to 400 years old were considered old. As for the Holy Lands, people of 700 to 800 years old might be at their peak. The difference in strength was huge. Li Yishui of Illusion Destruction Palace snorted. He glanced at Yi Fan and Li Heishui and left. He knew he had no chance. That old guy won't hold a grudge and deal with us, right? Yi Fan transmitted his voice. Li Heishui laughed coldly. Don't worry, the black iron token in my hand is enough to crush him. If he dares to cause trouble, I'll make him green in the face. Yi Fan didn't mind. Red Dragon Taoist owed him a favor and had told him long ago. If there was anything he could go find him. These were unavoidable things. If one wanted to make a shocking gamble in God City, there would definitely be all kinds of disturbances. This was just the beginning. Brothers, if you agree, the Sky Fei Treasure Tower can help you deal with this herb. I'll arrange for people to escort it away. Yao Yuekong was very thoughtful. Okay, I'll entrust it to the Sky Fei Treasure Tower. But we won't auction it now. We'll have to wait for a while. Yi Fan said. He wanted more people to know. It would be best to wait until the Great Sage's main attack on Purple Mountain was thwarted and then auction it off. He still had a mortal yuan fruit that was bitten by a dog. If these rare treasures appeared one after another, it would definitely be eye-catching. Maybe it would attract more people. Okay, we'll leave it to you. Yao Yuekong found people to take care of it. If it was lost or damaged, Sky Fei Palace would compensate 200,000 kilograms of origin source. This made Yi Fan very satisfied and relieved. However, there was no need to worry about this. Sky Fei Palace wouldn't ruin their reputation to steal it. They had handled many rare treasures and nothing was more valuable than their reputation. Motherf **, is there any justice in this world? That hey brat only had 25 kilograms of origin source and got such a glorious result. It makes me want to puke blood. Wu Ziming's face was filled with bad luck. Li Chongtian was also indignant. Looking at Yi Fan in the stone garden, he said, he only knows how to throw watermelon stones. In the end he got a herb. I'm so angry. There were more than 10 people in their group. They all cursed the two for being so lucky. This is called strength. You bunch of country bumpkins, learn well. Li Heishui raised his head and turned around, leaving the back of his head to them. Damn it, this hey brat is looking down on us. Motherf **, this country bumpkin is laughing at us. Your Royal Highness, please cut your stone. Yi Fan smiled. He didn't need to cut the stone. The Xia prince knew he would lose without a doubt. Immemorial divine herbs were hard to come by. There was almost no chance of winning. He didn't want to waste time and directly cut open the stone. He cut out a piece of origin source the size of a small person's head. It was worth one origin source, but it couldn't compare to Yi Fan's stone. The Xia prince was very happy. He pushed the 3 origin sources to Yi Fan and said, "Brothers, I'll treat you to a drink at Drunken Immortal Tower this afternoon." Yi Fan was shocked. That was one of the 8 great restaurants in the God City. It was extremely expensive and the highest level of celestial banquets were specially prepared for holy lords and powerful beings. "How can I'm just making friends." The Xia prince smiled. The Xia royal family of the central state was very concerned about the origin source. Legend had it that their Tai Huang Sutra was cut from the origin source. There were people from the Xia royal family stationed in the God City all year round to buy strange stones. Yi Fan knew that the Xia prince was not an ordinary person. Although he had only seen him gamble once, he had most likely seen some clues and decided to befriend him. On the side, Yao Yuekong laughed and said, "I also want to treat these 2 brothers. Let's drink together at noon and get drunk. Then we'll accept." Yi Fan and Li Heishui laughed as well. Only the little nun in white wrinkled her nose, pouted her lips and mumbled something, then rolled her eyes at Yi Fan and Li Heishui. At this moment, the old Taoist nun beside them asked, "Do you still want to choose your stones?" This was the Heaven Stone Garden and all the stones were precious. No one was allowed to stay for too long. Yi Fan said, "I want to continue but I don't have the money. The stones here are too expensive." The people outside the stone garden were speechless, especially Wu Ziming and Li Chongtian. They were indignant. He won so much and yet he was still complaining about being poor. He deserved to be struck by lightning. "I think this young master has his eyes on the stone. It's fine if you can't gather enough, you can choose as much as you want. But you have to use the divine herb as collateral." The old nun said, "But I've already given it to the Sky Beast Treasure Tower." Yi Fan answered, "You can deduct today's origin source from the auction." The old nun said, "Okay." Yi Fan nodded. "Are you still not going to stop today? Don't gamble all of a sudden and let the Tao One sacred ground get the divine herb for nothing." Li Heishui reminded. Yi Fan shook his head and replied, "I want to gamble in the God City. Today is a rare opportunity, how can I stop just like that?" Yao Yuekong followed and said, "Brothers, you still want to choose stones? You are indeed bold." The great Xia prince also laughed and said, "All right, I want to observe and learn a few moves." "Young man, you still want to gamble on stones?" The group of old men outside were all astonished. Then, a group of people with great backgrounds walked in with fervent eyes. "When luck comes it can't be stopped. This is the experience of many people who gamble on stones. If you cut out something good, you must consider selling it to us old men." "That's right, young man, I wish you good luck." The group of old men followed in with fervent eyes. Even the old nun couldn't stop them because many of them were regular customers. "Divine herb, who cut out the divine herb? Let this old man take a look." A clamor came from outside the stone garden. Another group of old people rushed over. "Where is it? I want to buy it for 180,000 kilograms. Another group of people rushed over. The old man in the lead had sparse hair and was about to fall off completely. Everyone present was shocked. The old men that appeared one after another all had great backgrounds. They were all frighteningly old undying characters. An archaic divine herb couldn't be found in the present world. It was too shocking and attracted many famous people, including the supreme elders of some holy lands. It could be said that after Yi Fan cut out the human-shaped divine herb, the entire divine city was shaken and caused a commotion. Many people came to watch after hearing the news. They wanted to see what the divine herb looked like. It was a grand occasion comparable to when the divine source was cut out. "Come, make way for this old man." Inside the Heaven Stone Garden, there were a lot of shining white skulls. Some people even started to choose their own stones. This was originally a quiet place, but today, it was bustling with noise and excitement. Inside the stone garden, an ancient vine with a diameter of 10 meters rested horizontally like an azure dragon. Yi Fan walked back and forth, arriving here. He patted a strange stone at the side of the well, and then put it down. "You must choose correctly or else our divine herb will be gone. Didn't you hear? Someone just bid 180,000 kilograms. Li Heishui reminded. "There's no need to worry. At most we'll start over again." Yi Fan was very calm. He had studied the Book of Source and knew that the most important thing when choosing a stone was to have a normal heart. "What a good attitude," Yao Yuekong praised. The Xia prince was about to nod his head, but at this time, Yi Fan smiled and asked the little nun to help him choose a few stones. This made him very annoyed. Young man, you're good at keeping your cool. We all have high hopes for you. Stone gambling is 70% luck. I hope you can cut out more rare treasures. A group of old men followed behind. One of them smiled and spoke. What he said could be considered the truth. Some people had great luck for a period of time. Every time they bet, they would win. These were all examples that had happened before. Yi Fan walked and stopped from time to time to choose stones. He followed the cobblestone path and arrived at a quiet bamboo forest. He stopped in front of the stone that was worth 50,000 kilograms of source. This stone had a special Dao rhyme around it. He had discussed it with Li Heishui before. Finally, someone is going to touch this stone. After so many years, no one dared to touch it. The old men behind him were all very surprised. Yi Fan squatted down and gently patted it. He kept rubbing and examining it carefully. But in the end he still stood up. He felt that this stone was like an empty shell, but it also seemed to contain something. He really couldn't be sure. He looked up and saw the young Taoist of the Dao Yi holy ground standing quietly in the distance. She was like a fairy that had just bloomed. She blended in with the scenery, ethereal and natural. He still couldn't see her face. There was no fog, no divine light, but there seemed to be some kind of Dao rhyme blurring her face. Yi Fan walked to the other side and continued to choose stones. Li Heishui accompanied him. Yao Yuekong, the Xia prince, and the little nun also followed beside him. Not long later they walked out of the bamboo forest and came to a place where the sun shone. Yi Fan stared at the 9-orifice golem on the stone platform. Why did you put it on the stone platform? Yi Fan asked. Master Yuan answered, this is a human-shaped stone formed by heaven and earth. Legend has it that if this stone has enough time to absorb the essence of the sun and moon, it will one day become a saint spirit. This stone was very attractive to Yi Fan. It was born with a human shape and had 9 orifices. He wandered around the garden, but his mind was always on this stone. It was said that there was a celestial stone in this world. It had 9 orifices and could transform into a saint spirit. It was in existence close to immortals, but this stone was too small. It was only 1 foot long. Yi Fan pondered for a while. In the end he still made his move. He picked up the 9-orifice golem and carefully observed it. Many people with profound Genesis techniques have seen this 9-orifice golem, but no one dared to touch it after so many years. Young man, are you really going to touch this stone? The group of old men was very shocked. They had all studied this stone before, but no one dared to touch it. This stone was only 1 foot long, but it was worth 90,000 kilograms of Genesis stone. It was so expensive that many people couldn't grasp it after seeing it. Is someone going to touch the 9-orifice golem? This old man was right to come. I have to take a good look. Another old man came after hearing the news. Last time, those experts from the Genesis technique family studied it for half a day, but in the end they still shook their heads and gave up. Is someone really going to cut this stone today? Today Yi Fan had cut out the primordial divine medicine. The impact was greater than he had imagined. People kept coming to see it. It was a real sensation in the divine city. Yi Fan raised the strange stone and aimed it at the sun. He carefully analyzed it, carefully observed it, and silently thought. He always felt that this stone was mysterious and mysterious. He couldn't quite grasp it. It gave him a dreamy feeling one moment, and then it gave him the illusion that it contained a peerless treasure. Beside him the old men were all discussing. The divine medicine has been sent away. We won't be able to see it today. It will be auctioned in the heavenly palace soon. But today's trip was not in vain. If we can understand what's inside the 9-orifice golem, it can be considered as fulfilling a wish. That's right. I've always wanted to know what's inside it. Unfortunately, those extremely skilled Genesis technique masters gave up on it in the end. A group of old men surrounded the place in high spirits. They were all looking forward to Yi Fan cutting open the 9-orifice golem and fulfilling a wish of many years. Are you confident? Li Heishui asked. No, but it's worth a try. Yi Fan raised the strange stone and aimed its 9 orifices at the sun one by one, observing them one by one. When he inadvertently turned around, he couldn't help but be a little surprised. The stone garden was surrounded so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Many cultivators were watching, but no one made a ruckus. They were all quietly watching. Among them there was a handsome Jiang clan elite, Jianghu. His clothes were whiter than snow, and he stood out from the crowd. And in another direction, there was also a white-clothed person. It was a woman. Her eyes were bright and kind, and she was perfect and flawless. Her skin was sparkling and translucent. It was actually in Miaoi. She had actually also come here. Only at this moment did Yi Fan know that cutting open the divine medicine had shaken the entire divine city. Many people had come here. At this moment, only a group of old men didn't have any misgivings. They surrounded him and discussed spiritedly. The others were all quietly watching. Yi Fan shook his head. He didn't expect to attract so much attention. He quickly calmed his heart and began again. He aimed the 9 orifices of the 9 orifices at the sun one by one, and constantly used his fingers to measure its body. Chapter 334. The bamboo forest was dark green and the spirit spring surged. It was peaceful and tranquil. The stone platform was tall and faced the sun, gathering the essence of the sun. Yi Fan stood on it, facing the sunlight as he observed the stone golem. His expression was focused as he slowly turned the strange stone in a serious and careful manner. Suddenly his expression changed. When the stone golem's right eye was illuminated by the sunlight, he seemed to see a trace of the essence of the sun flash. Was this an illusion? He could not be sure because it had been a long time since he faced the sun. He suspected that he had been blinded. Yi Fan did not move. He held the 9 orifice stone golem and faced the sun, his mind highly focused as he carefully observed. At this moment, everyone knew that this delicate and pretty youth was a Genesis technique expert. His various techniques were very particular and unheard of. Could it be a youth from a Genesis technique clan? His methods are very special and unseen. True Genesis technique experts rely 50% on luck and 50% on strength when choosing a stone. This youth most likely has a great background. Didn't a few people from a Genesis technique clan come last time? They also saw the 9 orifice stone golem. Their techniques are very different from his. They are definitely not from the same clan. On the side, a group of old men were discussing softly, their eyes burning with passion. If this youth was a Genesis technique genius, he would undoubtedly be worth roping in. Outside the Heaven Stone Garden, although there were many people gathered, it was very quiet. Ever since Yi Fan was about to move the 9 orifice stone golem, there was no sound of conversation. Everyone was quietly watching. Even Jianghu, who was dressed in white, was waiting with an attentive look on his face. Even his boots were white and spotless, looking exceptionally elegant and scholarly. And Miaoi's black hair danced in the wind. Her eyes moved as she also observed Yi Fan. Her flawless body was like snow on a flowering tree, moving one's heart. Yi Fan stood still for a full quarter of an hour and did not observe any abnormalities. The stone golem's right eye was very dry. There was no essence of the sun coming in or out, and there was no lively aura. Suddenly Yi Fan moved. Specks of light appeared on his right hand. They were multicolored and extremely gorgeous, giving off a dreamy feeling. This wasn't the technique of a cultivator, but rather a profound Genesis magic that could gather wood power, absorb the essence of the sun, and draw the spiritual essence of heaven and earth. Yi Fan's right hand moved agilely, and the colorful lights entered his 9 orifices. His eyes sparkled with starlight as he stared at the stone man without blinking. He is indeed a Genesis technique expert. I've never seen such strange techniques and mysterious methods before. Can this Genesis technique find out what's inside the stone? At the side, these elders all revealed looks of shock. They were filled with anticipation, and they all wanted to see what other wondrous methods he had. Yi Fan did not release any waves of divine power. This was the first time he was so serious because the 9-hold stone man was too special. After a long time, the multicolored lights penetrated the 9 orifices, but there were no changes. The strange stone was simple and natural, still the same. Yi Fan frowned and lightly jumped down from the stone platform, no longer facing the sunlight to observe. These techniques were useless. Li Heishui said, "Can't you see through it? Just don't touch it. I heard that this stone has been here for many years. Even though some people thought it was valuable, they gave up at the last moment." Purple-clothed Yao Yuekong also reminded, "Little brother, don't touch it if you're not confident. Many Genesis technique experts have seen it, but they all left in the end." Yi Fan said calmly, "I'll take a look." He placed the stone man on the grass and carefully measured its body. Then he began to quickly move his fingers, pointing downwards. One could clearly see inch-long streaks of golden light plunging into some special spots, falling down like grains of gold. Golden touch. The white-haired Master Yuan cried out in surprise, standing out from the crowd. What? It really is the extremely famous Genesis technique, turning rock into gold hand. Even experts from aristocratic families might not be able to use it. Some of the older people exclaimed, "Is this for real?" This young man is using the golden touch? This, unbelievable, he really is a Genesis technique genius. The surrounding older people revealed shocked expressions. They had heard of this Genesis technique, but had never seen anyone use it. Outside the Heaven Series Stone Garden, Wu Ziming, Li Chongtian, and the rest looked at each other in dismay. They felt as bitter as if they had bitten a gold thread. While the great Xia Prince was shocked, he paid even more attention. He stood at the very front, almost touching the stone man. Purple-clothed Yao Yuekong also bent down and observed closely. He felt that Yi Fan's Genesis technique was more extraordinary than he had imagined. If he could form a good relationship with him, it would be greatly beneficial to the Sky Demon Treasure Tower in the future. A total of 108-inch-long golden lights were shot into the stone man by Yi Fan. This was not divine power, so there was no need to worry about cracking the stone. In the crowd, Master Yuan exclaimed, "It's connected. It's the complete golden touch." Yi Fan was very focused and was not affected by the onlookers. He began to hit the stone rhythmically and listened carefully. He only stopped after a long time. "How is it?" Li Heishui asked nervously. With so many people paying such a high price to choose this stone material, it would be hard for anyone to calm down. "I'm still not sure, but I'll choose it. I'll buy it." When Yi Fan spat out the word buy, Stone Garden was no longer calm. It erupted with noise. Everyone began to discuss among themselves. The stone man was an extremely valuable stone. It had been placed here for many years, but no one dared to touch it. It had almost become the treasure of the Dao Yi Stone Square. Today someone was finally going to cut the stone. Everyone was somewhat impatient, wanting to see just what was inside the stone being. Today's trip was indeed worth it. Our wish of many years will be fulfilled. Some of the older people sighed. Heroes come from the young. Many people have seen this stone. Even people from the Genesis technique families have come, but they did not buy it in the end. The stone garden was in an uproar. Everyone was discussing their opinions. Wu Ziming sneered, "I think he's going to be unlucky. So many experts have seriously studied it and none of them are optimistic about it. He actually dared to buy it, hee. Li Chongtian also mocked, "Let's see how he ends up when he falls and bleeds." Inside the stone garden, Li Heishui frowned. "You can't see through this stone and cannot be sure. Why do you still want to buy it? What do you mean by stone gambling?" The word, gamble, is placed in front of the stone. If even the Genesis technique is useless, then you can only take a gamble. Yi Fan had studied the Origin Heavenly Book, but his Genesis technique had not reached the perfect level yet. He could not compare to the Yuan Taoist master. Indeed, he could not see through the stone, but he could faintly sense something unusual. He felt that it was definitely not an ordinary stone, but he did not know if there would be a peerless treasure. He did not want to miss it because a few people from the Genesis technique families had come not long ago. He was afraid that even more powerful people would be attracted. Good. Yuan Taoist master was the most excited. His body trembled. He had guarded this garden for decades. He was not a cultivator, but he had always wanted to see someone cut open the stone man and see what was inside. Even the calmest Taoist nun revealed a strange expression. She was no longer as indifferent as before. The Taoist girl from the Dao Yi Holy Land also appeared. It was obvious that she also wanted to see. The moment Yi Fan took out his knife, all sound disappeared. The huge stone garden was silent except for the fervent gazes. The entire stone garden was so quiet that one could hear the falling leaves. Yi Fan began to cut the stone. He was cautious and careful. His movements were very small, and his knife was steady and accurate. When the first sound rang out, everyone was shocked. This sound indicated that the Dao Yi Stone Square's treasure was finally going to be opened. Stone chips flew everywhere. Yi Fan concentrated on moving his knife. He did not hold back and was very fast. In a short while, the stone man's arm was cut open. In the end, there was nothing but stone powder on the ground. There was not even an ordinary source stone. It could be seen that the inside of the stone man was very ordinary. It was white and did not contain any rare stone. Oh no! Li Heishui knew that things were not good. As expected, no wonder those Genesis technique experts shook their heads and gave up. This 9-hold stone man looks special, but the inside is white stone. There is definitely no source stone. Some old people were very disappointed. They had been looking forward to this stone for many years. Today someone finally cut it open. They did not expect it to be so ordinary. There was nothing special about it. Some old people even suspected that this was a trap set by the Dao Yi Holy Land. They wanted to trick people with profound Genesis techniques. Fortunately, I resisted the impulse and didn't buy this piece of stone back then. Yi Fan turned a deaf ear to these voices and continued to move his knife. Not long after, the stone man's legs were also cut off. Sigh, I have been unable to let go of this stone for so many years. I didn't expect it to be like this. If there was a peerless treasure inside, there would have been a flying immortal phenomenon. Now there is not even a fluctuation. How disappointing. These old people all shook their heads. The most nervous was Li Heishui. This was a stone with a sky-high price. If he could not cut out anything, all the previous divine medicines would have to be used to fill the hole. Yi Fan did not say anything. He continued to swing his knife and cut open the stone man's abdomen. It was still white. Then he cut open the head. Finally he put the knife on the chest. Stone chips flew everywhere, but there was still nothing. Li Heishui broke out in a cold sweat. He was full of hope, but now he was extremely disappointed. At this moment, there was still a fist-sized stone on the ground. It was located at the heart. In addition, there was no cut on the forehead. Now the outside of the stone garden was no longer calm. No one was optimistic about this 9-holed stone man. It had been cut until now and it was still white. It was almost impossible for such a stone to contain a rare treasure. Haha. Wu Ziming laughed. You overestimate yourself. After so many years, all the experts shook their heads and left. No one chose it. Do you really think you are a Genesis technique master? Li Chongtian also gloated. There are always some people who don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. They think they can guide the world, but in the end they are nothing. Ha! The group of them were all laughing. The outside of the stone garden was noisy. Some were sarcastic, some were ridiculing, and some were sympathetic. There were all kinds of expressions on their faces. Now no one was quiet. It was noisy. No one was optimistic about the 9-holed stone man. Hee hee. A deep and meaningful sneer sounded nearby. The supreme elder of the Disillusionment Palace, Li Yishui, had also appeared. At this moment even Yao Yuekong and the great Xia Prince were very disappointed. They were silent and doubtful whether they had underestimated Yi Fan. In the distance, Jiang Yifei frowned and no longer paid attention to this place. And Miaoi also shook her head slightly. The expression on her beautiful and flawless face became calm. A group of old people quietly watched beside Yi Fan. They did not say anything. The beautiful young Taoist girl stood at the side. She was still very calm and did not say anything. Damn it, this is really annoying. Li Heishui was very depressed. He glared at Wu Ziming, Li Chongtian and the others in the distance. At this moment only the little nun in white was still squatting on the ground. She looked very innocent and was still curiously staring at the fist-sized stone. She blinked her big eyes and said, "Why are you not cutting it?" Yi Fan was unperturbed. He stood up and shouted loudly, "Is there anyone willing to bet with me?" Chapter 335. The surrounding elders were shocked by Yi Fan's words. The people outside the stone garden were stunned at first, then broke out into an uproar. Bet? Are you going to bet on that white rock on the ground? It's obvious that it's a white flower stone. It's impossible to extract the source energy from it. Even the lowest level stone gambler knows that. Young man, even if the 9-orifice stone golem is empty, don't be so weak. There will be more chances in the future. I think he's possessed. Even at this point he still wants to gamble with others. The crowd outside the Heaven Stone Garden discussed fervently, especially Wu Ziming and the rest, who laughed loudly. What are you betting on? You're going to use that white rock to extract the source energy? What a joke. I think he's mad because he can't take the blow. I already said that he doesn't know his place. Now he's back to square one. He thinks he's a Genesis technique expert, but he fell from the clouds. Overestimating himself, haha. Yi Fan's expression was calm as he said, "Who wants to bet with me? I'll bet with the 9-orifice stone golem. If I lose, I'm willing to pay 25,000 kilograms of source energy." The moment he said this, the crowd first fell silent, then exploded into an uproar. This guy is crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. 25,000 kilograms of source energy. If you can take it out, I'll bet with you. Someone shouted in provocation. Can't take the blow, so you're going to give up? Someone mocked. Within the stone garden, Yao Yuekong came forward and advised, "Brother, there's no need to be like this. At most we'll start all over again. It's impossible to extract a rare treasure from such a white rock." Yi Fan shook his head and persisted, "It's fine. I just want to bet with them. I even managed to extract a divine herb today. I feel that the heavens are on my side." The fist-sized rock on the ground was glaringly white. Everyone was speechless and sighed when they thought of its astronomical price. Extracting a divine herb is a great opportunity. It's a rare item that hasn't been seen for many years. Do you really think you can extract such a divine item? What a joke. Do you have the source energy or not? If you do, I'll bet with you. Outside the stone garden, all types of noises sounded. No one believed that the white flower stone could produce an origin stone. Li Heishui was anxious. He secretly transmitted his voice. Are you really confident? This is the white marble stone. Even a beginner gambler knows that it's impossible to get it from the source. I'm more or less confident, Yi Fan replied secretly. Really? Li Heishui saw that Yi Fan was very calm, so he was skeptical. How could I have tricked myself? Yi Fan thought to himself. You're too sinister. You're fishing. Li Heishui relaxed and chuckled to himself. Everyone says I'm black-hearted, but I think you're even blacker than me. You clearly got something good, yet you're still so calm. You didn't forget to scam these people. I think I should call you Yihei instead. At this moment, there was a commotion outside the stone garden. No one could remain calm. The old Taoist nun from the Tao One Holy Land had to take a few steps forward to prevent people from rushing in. Yi Fan swept his gaze over everyone and said, Everything I said is true. Look at what this is. He waved his sleeve and a large pile of source energy appeared on the ground. It flickered with light and surged with spiritual qi. Wu Ziming, Li Chongtian, and a dozen others had lost a total of 42,000 kilograms of source energy to him. The great Xia Prince had also lost 10,000 kilograms of source energy. In total, it was just over 50,000 kilograms. Outside the stone garden, everyone felt a little dizzy after seeing so many source energy. Most of them were young people and had never dealt with so many before. Their eyes were all burning with passion. Does anyone dare to bet with me? Yi Fan asked again. This time, everyone was stunned. 50,000 kilograms of source energy was too much. Normally, such a scene was rarely seen. Those who could take out so many source energy would not fight over it. Most of them were the big shots of the older generation and used it to buy rare treasures. Even for people like Jiang Yifei and Miaoi, their expressions changed slightly as they were slightly surprised. Some people's mouths were dry and they could not help but swallow their saliva. Their eyes were a little dazed as they stared at the 50,000 kilograms of source energy in the garden. However, such a large pile of source energy was really too much. No young person could take it out at once, so they all stared at it. Some of the older generation could take it out, but they could not put down their pride. Especially in the stone garden, the old people around Yi Fan all had great backgrounds. Many of them could afford to take out 50,000 kilograms of source energy. However, just now they had followed behind Yi Fan and seemed to be choosing stones together. They could not put down their pride to bet with him. How about this? I will lower the standard and use 1 square of source as the standard. As long as you work together to gather enough, you can come in. I will accompany you one by one. 10,000 kilograms of source energy was divided into 3 squares, and 50,000 kilograms of source energy was divided into 15 squares. Yi Fan divided the large pile of source energy into 15 piles and looked at the crowd. Bet, let's gather source energy and join together to bet with him. At that moment, 7 or 8 people gathered 10,000 kilograms of source energy and became the first batch of gamblers. Wu Ziming, Li Chongtian and the others could not hold back and wanted to immediately enter the field to bet. This was a rare opportunity to take revenge for what happened before. These 2 country bumpkins are doomed. Unfortunately, we do not have source energy on us. What should we do? Wu Ziming was unwilling. Isn't that Senior Li Yishui in front? He is the Grand Elder of Disillusionment Palace. Li Chongtian is your granduncle Xian. Why don't you go and borrow some source energy? Someone suggested. That's right. I see that Senior Li Yishui is quite dissatisfied with those 2 youngsters because of the godly medicine. Li Chongtian, you go and explain. I think he will definitely lend us some. All right, I will go and try. Not long after, Li Chongtian returned with 10,000 kilograms of source energy. Yi Fan did not make a sound and calmly watched them walk over. He had been waiting for these people and knew that they would borrow source energy from Li Yishui. At this moment, Li Yishui revealed a deep and cold smile and looked towards the stone garden meaningfully. Old thing, let's see if you can still smile in a while. Seeing this, Li Heishui's mouth revealed a cold smile. Is there anyone else who wants to bet? Yi Fan's gaze swept across the crowd. Many people were tempted and wanted to team up. However, seeing how calm Yi Fan and Li Heishui were, they were a bit doubtful and hesitant. Especially the elders in the stone garden, they all showed strange expressions and felt that the situation could change for the better. Is there really no one else? Yi Fan asked again. At this moment, the little nun in white was still squatting on the ground and holding her beautiful chin. Her big eyes were incomparably pure as she unhappily muttered, "Hurry up and cut it." Yi Fan asked many times but no one responded. Now many people were a bit doubtful. Even Wu Ziming and Li Chongtian were a bit uneasy. This was because Yi Fan was too calm and collected. In the end, no one else entered. Only two groups of people wanted to bet with Yi Fan, a total of 20,000 kilograms of origin source. Hurry up. The little nun in white tilted her head and blinked her big eyes to urge them. She was a bit dissatisfied. Little sister, since you are in such a hurry, I'll let you cut the stone, okay? Yi Fan laughed. The little nun in white wrinkled her nose and ignored him. Her expression was focused and only stared at the stone. The great Xia prince was really annoyed and wanted to slap Yi Fan. He frowned and walked a few steps forward to stand beside his little sister. Hurry up and cut the stone, Wu Ziming and the others urged. Okay, let's wait for the peerless treasure to appear. Yi Fan revealed a serious expression. He held the sharp silver knife and moved it on the fist-sized stone. Kacha. The sound of the stone cutting rang out and the surrounding people immediately quieted down. It was as if they had returned to the beginning and no one said anything. The stone powder rustled down and the silver knife moved very quickly. Not long after, the fist-sized stone had shrunk to half its original size. It was still a white marble stone and there was no strange phenomenon. Although Wu Ziming and the others wanted to laugh, they couldn't. In this solemn atmosphere, they were even a bit nervous. In the end, the stone was not even the size of a plum. Many people couldn't help but talk about it. The majority of people believed that it was impossible to cut out anything. It was already such a small piece and it was a white marble stone. If there was a divine object inside, it should have long sensed spiritual energy. Even Li Heishui couldn't keep his cool. Everyone looked at Yi Fan, but he was still very calm and accurately cut the stone. Kacha. When it was only the size of a lychee, the color of the stone finally changed and became a dark red. Many people cried out in surprise. Yi Fan slowed down and carefully peeled off the stone. Everyone immediately held their breath and no longer made a sound, quietly observing. In the end, a dark red stone shaped like a heart was peeled out. The old people present were all shocked and revealed incomparable expressions of pity. What a pity this 9-orifice stone golem really has a chance to transform. The heart has already formed, and in a few million years, it will most likely develop spiritual intelligence and become a saint spirit near the level of an immortal. What a pity, it shouldn't have been born so early. If it was discovered, everything would be for naught. All the old people shook their heads, feeling that this was the will of the heavens. Otherwise, in a few million years, it would be an incomparably terrifying existence that could compete with the ancient emperors. The 9-orifice stone golem can only stop here. In the end, it couldn't give birth to a rare treasure. What a pity for this stone embryo. Seeing that all the old people present had come to this conclusion, Wu Ziming immediately laughed and mocked. Genesis technique genius, hand over the source. Yi Fan ignored him and continued to cut. As expected, after the dark red stone heart was cut open, there was nothing. Ha ha ha. Li Chongtian and the others laughed loudly, full of joy and mockery. Outside the stone garden, there was an uproar. Many people were filled with regret and wanted to beat themselves up for missing such a great opportunity to bet. Hee hee. Disillusionment Palace's supreme elder Li Yishui sneered meaningfully. The Xia Prince and Yao Yuekong also shook their heads, feeling that Yi Fan was too impulsive. This was equivalent to giving away the source for no reason. Young man, what can I say about you? You really shouldn't have done this. 9 out of 10 bets are lost, especially when it comes to source stones. If you don't cut it open, it's hard to predict the result. Some of the old people around shook their heads, all feeling sorry for Yi Fan. Yi Fan was still very calm and did not say much. However, Li Heishui was sweating profusely and nothing came out. This was a very big blow to him. Especially after seeing Wu Ziming and Li Chongtian's mockery, he was even angrier. Seeing the sympathetic and gloating expressions of the others, he couldn't help but sigh. What, can't say anything? There were a total of 2 groups of people who bet with Yi Fan. At this moment, they were all very pleased with themselves. Genesis technique genius, go back and practice for a few more years. Not everyone can cut such an expensive stone. You overestimate yourself, thinking that you are the reincarnation of the Yuan Taoist master. What a joke. Since you don't want to say anything, we will collect the source ourselves, ha. These people laughed heartily, especially Wu Ziming and Li Chongtian, who were even more presumptuous. Around them, Yao Yuekong, the Xia prince and the others were silent, and the group of old people also did not speak. Outside the stone garden there was an uproar. Most people were blaming themselves and regretting. Wait. At this moment Yi Fan suddenly said calmly, I have not finished cutting the 9-orifice stone golem. What right do you have to touch my source? Hearing him say this, everyone was stunned. Even people like Jiang Yifei and In Miaoi were surprised. You still have stones to cut? Wu Ziming and the others looked at the ground but they did not care. The little nun in white was still holding her chin and did not get up. She said in a clear and melodious voice, hurry up and cut it. Let me see what is inside. Yi Fan picked up a flat stone from the stone powder. It was half the size of a palm and about an inch thick. Such a flat stone, you still hope to cut out something rare? You really won't shed a tear until you see the coffin. Even now you still won't give up. We will wait for you to cut it and see what comes out. The two groups of people who bet with Yi Fan did not believe that they could cut out anything. The corners of their mouths curled into a sneer. Can you still join? Since you still have stones, I also want to bet with you. Someone outside the stone garden shouted. I want to join too. Count me in. The heaven stone garden suddenly became noisy. Many people shouted and wanted to join. Tens of thousands of kilograms of source was really enough to make people jealous. What should we do? Li Heishui was anxious and secretly transmitted his voice. Wait to collect the source. Yi Fan replied. I understand. You little brat, after causing trouble twice, the hesitant people still dare to come in. As expected, I should call you Yihei. Li Heishui suddenly understood. This time Yi Fan did not agree as readily as last time. He was somewhat hesitant and said, Everyone, why do you have to be like this? Not long ago you were the one who said that you wanted to bet with everyone here. Why are you backing out now? Words that have been spoken are like water that has been spilled. We will also join. This old bastard. Li Heishui cursed in a low voice. He discovered that Li Yishui was sending the source to Li Chongtian's group. The dozen or so people were adding fuel to the fire. The corner of Yi Fan's mouth curled up into a cold smile, and he said with a sound transmission, I just want to scam him, this big fish. This old fellow can take out tens of thousands of kilograms by himself, and the others can't even gather 10,000 kilograms. Finally, when Yi Fan agreed, several people quickly rushed over and piled 30,000 kilograms of source on top of Wu Ziming's group. The others were unwilling. Another dozen or so people gathered 10,000 kilograms of source, but they were too late and could only return dispiritedly. 50,000 kilograms of source against 15 square meters. Everyone, when the time comes, you have to admit defeat. Yi Fan became increasingly calm. Who will win and who will lose? I think it's the other way around. Wu Ziming sneered. At this moment, Li Yishui's heart jumped. He felt something was wrong, but unfortunately the source had already been sent in. Quickly cut the rock. When a genius like you gives us 50,000 kilograms of source, haha. What genius, he is just a brat who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Yi Fan smiled and became even more calm. He said to the old nun of Dao One Sacred Land, Senior, please seal this space to prevent the rare treasure from escaping. Hearing this, everyone was shocked and could not help but look at the scene. Even the number of people talking decreased. Are you sure you want to do this? The old nun asked calmly. I am sure that a peerless rare treasure will appear. Yi Fan was very sure. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. This was truly a series of twists and turns. Seeing his expression, many people subconsciously believed him. Of course, there were also many people who were doubtful and some even sneered and mocked. He really lost his head from gambling. He still refuses to give up. Let's see how he will deal with this. If he can't cut anything, I want to see where he will put his face. He is shooting himself in the foot. Let's wait for him to make a fool of himself. The people who said this were naturally the people who had bet with him. They were the most arrogant, and all of them had cold smiles on their faces. The old nun of Dao One Sacred Land did not say much. She decisively sealed this space and a transparent light curtain covered this place. From start to finish, the young nun of Dao One Sacred Land was very calm and indifferent. She had been watching indifferently. As for who was the most curious, it was undoubtedly the little nun in white. She was very dissatisfied with Yi Fan. She wrinkled her nose and urged Yi Fan to hurry up and cut the stone. Little brother, are you sure you can cut out a rare treasure? Yao Yuekong asked. The Prince of Great Xia also looked over. I am somewhat confident, Yi Fan answered. Hearing this, the surrounding old people were undoubtedly the most shocked. The stone was very special to them. After all, they had been watching it for many years. If they really could not cut out anything, they would undoubtedly be very disappointed. This time Yi Fan revealed an extremely serious expression. This stone was the forehead of the stone, including the area between the eyebrows. When he cut out this area, he had already confirmed that there was something extraordinary inside. However, he was not in a hurry to cut it open. Instead, he continued to peel off other parts. Now he had no choice but to be serious. The silver knife slid down and the stone layer was slowly peeled off. His movements were very slow, as if he was afraid of cutting something. He was extremely careful. Crack. When Yi Fan's last knife landed, the entire piece of stone cracked. Far away from the eyebrows, a cocoon-like object fell out. It was only an inch long and half an inch thick. It was dark gold in color and shone brightly. It was a metal cocoon. No one knew what it contained, but it gave people a very special feeling. He really cut something out. Everyone was shocked. The rare treasure inside the white flower stone was beyond everyone's imagination. This is the thing that came out of the 9-orifice stone. What on earth is it? At this moment, the dark gold metal cocoon attracted everyone's attention. Bang! Suddenly, it trembled slightly and trembled on its own. What? Can move? Is it some kind of ancient creature? Everyone's expression changed. There were indeed many legends about ancient creatures. What could such a metal cocoon contain? Yi Fan quickly retreated, feeling the danger. At this moment, a shocking murderous intent permeated the air. It was so shocking that many people's faces turned pale. What on earth is about to be born? Many of the older generation began to be on guard. This was the only reassuring thing. There were many older experts here today. Crack. The dark gold metal cocoon quickly cracked. Then a black sword aura shot out and pierced through the old nun's seal. The cold murderous intent caused people's souls to tremble. The bone-chilling murderous intent was intimidating. The cocoon completely shattered and turned into dust. A small black sword less than an inch long appeared in its place. It clanged and exploded with murderous intent. It pierced through the sealed space and shot up into the sky like a black light. Heavens, this murderous intent is too terrifying. It's definitely interwoven with Tao and reason. The 9-orifice stone statue is indeed a miraculous being born by heaven and earth. It contains such a divine sword. If it wasn't born too early and placed here, the 9-orifice stone statue would have become a sacred spirit in the future. This is a murderous sword created by heaven and earth. Some of the older people exclaimed. Heavens, look! What material is it made of? It seems to be black dragon patterned gold. That's right. It is indeed a sacred object exclusive to the great emperors, black dragon patterned gold. This was even more shocking. Everyone was extremely excited. The small black sword, less than an inch long, was covered with natural dragon patterns. It was simple and natural, but at this moment, a black light shot up into the sky. It's made of the same material as the sacred weapon of the wavering light sacred ground, the dragon-patterned cauldron. This is a peerless treasure. The 9-orifice stone statue actually gave birth to such a thing. This will be its future weapon. This 9-orifice stone statue is amazing. If it wasn't cut open, it would be able to compete with the great emperors. Although the black dragon-patterned gold sword was less than an inch long and was a very small sacred object, if it hadn't been born prematurely and nurtured by the 9-orifice stone statue, it would definitely become an extreme sacred weapon in the future. Everyone was both regretful and shocked. The 9-orifice stone statue was too extraordinary. It was born with a weapon, and it was a sacred object like the black dragon-patterned gold. If it could really be born, its battle power would definitely shock the world. Everyone worked together to seal the small black dragon sword. Quick, seal it. It was born prematurely, and the stone statue has a grudge. Hold on for a while and the sword will return to its normal state. The black dragon-patterned gold sword was born from the sacred object of the sect. This result made everyone who had bet with Yi Fan dumbfounded. Wu Ziming and Li Chongqian's faces turned green. As for the supreme elder of the Disillusionment Palace, Li Yishui, he almost vomited blood. This result was too unexpected. Their hearts were bleeding. Tens of thousands of kilograms of source stone had been swindled away just like that. At this moment, these people couldn't bear it anymore. Damn, this is too cruel. Tens of thousands of kilograms of source stone. These two brats are too evil. Their faces are evil and their hearts are evil too. Those who had bet were on the verge of collapsing and they kept cursing. However, no one was paying attention to them. The black dragon-patterned gold sword that had been cut out was definitely a rare treasure, and everyone's attention was drawn to it. especially since it was born from the 9-orifice stone statue. It was absolutely moving. White-robed Jiang Yifei was the first to transmit a message to Yi Fan. Following him was the beautiful and Miaoi. If not for the fact that the stone garden was sealed, she would have floated in. At this moment, many people expressed their goodwill to Yi Fan and wanted to buy the sword, even though it was very small. Chapter 336. Inside the Heaven Stone Garden, sword energy rushed to the heavens. The small black sword that was less than an inch long moved with endless murderous intent. Compared to normal weapons, it was really too short and small, to the extent where it was even somewhat insignificant. However, its might was terrifying. The black light pierced the clouds with a cold and austere aura that made people tremble to the bones. Even their souls were trembling and their bodies and minds were terrified. Some of the older generation took action at the same time. The black light was suppressed and retracted from the sky. Meanwhile, the small black sword was jumping about, wanting to escape. Clang! It turned into a beam of black light and pierced through a precious stone, stabbing into the light screen the old Taoist nun had set up. The old Taoist nun's jade-like fingers pressed down in the void. The space was sealed and all directions became silent. A type of divine might of the great Tao surged and immediately pressed down. Dang! An elder flicked his fingers continuously. Hundreds of beams of divine light shot at the small black sword, causing it to tremble. It then turned into a beam of black light and shot back. Chi! The black light flickered with a dazzling sharpness as it shot towards the crowd. Such a terrifying weapon was absolutely powerful. Some of the elders' expressions changed as they all took action. Clang! More than 10 elders flicked their fingers at the same time and struck the small black sword. It shook for a while and its light finally dimmed. The 9-orifice stone man was cut, so its resentment is indeed great. We need to put in more effort to disperse its remnant will. Only then would the small black sword return to its normal state. It was now a completely vicious weapon that could kill and injure people. If not for the old Taoist nun and so many elders sealing the stone garden, this place would have become a land of blood. The small black sword's power was flourishing as it interweaved with the Tao. Moreover, it was cast from the black dragon-patterned gold. It could be said to be unstoppable and almost impossible to block. Clang clang clang. The black dragon-patterned gold sword vibrated as black light shot out in all directions. It interweaved into a terrifying black lightning that actually had the power to destroy the heaven and earth. Li Heishui was shocked and said, "So terrifying. Even cutting the stone is dangerous. If one is not careful and is pierced by it, all rare treasures will become illusions." The young master of the Sky Demon Palace, Yao Yuekong, exclaimed, "The black dragon-striped golden sword, this is a rare treasure, absolutely priceless." The great Xia prince's gaze was fervent as he said, "Brothers, sell it to me and I will give you a satisfactory price." Yi Fan shook his head and said, "I don't have that idea yet. Maybe I'll keep it for my own use." It wasn't that he couldn't sell it but that he couldn't right now. Just now, quite a few people sent him sound transmissions, saying that he couldn't sell it right now. Yao Yuekong's eyes were also burning with passion. This is a weapon made from a saint artifact. Even though the materials used are few and it is far from an extreme saint artifact, it is still extremely rare. It can be sold at a sky-high price. Boom. The stone garden trembled. When these elders truly took action, not even the black dragon pattern sword produced by the stone man could display its power. It was still sealed in the end. The reason why it was so swift and fierce was mainly because the Tao and truth intertwined with each other were displaying their might under the effect of resentment. It was equivalent to a little incomplete nomological power. These elders did not stop there. Each of them pointed out a finger and a divine light shot out. Bolts of lightning fell down and enveloped the small black sword. This was equivalent to a baptism. With a chi sound, the resentment was dispersed and completely refined. The small black sword lost control, and the black light finally disappeared. Ding! The black dragon-patterned sword fell to the ground and pierced through a precious stone. It was made of a special material, a saint artifact, and it was extremely heavy. It actually sank into the ground. Yi Fan quickly moved forward and with a wave of his right hand, he guided the small black sword up. It turned into a black light and appeared in his palm. Even though it was less than an inch long, it was very heavy, 1,000 times heavier than ordinary refined iron. Even though it was so short, it still weighed more than 100 pounds. When it was in the stone man's forehead, it was not heavy at all. Only after it came into being did its heaviness become apparent. Worthy of being a weapon that interweaves Tao and truth, to have such a mysterious transformation. After subduing the black dragon pattern sword, there was a short period of silence. The stone garden immediately became noisy, and a group of elders surrounded Yi Fan. "Little brother, sell this sword to me, 130,000 pounds of origin source. Sell it to me, 150,000 pounds of origin source. This old one needs it, 180,000 pounds of origin source." When these people opened their mouths, they easily offered hundreds of thousands of pounds of origin source. Many people's eyes were burning hot. At this moment, the stone garden was in an uproar, and the surrounding cultivators were both envious and jealous. Two exceptional treasures were cut out, and both of them were sold at sky-high prices. Many people's eyes were green and they looked over like wolves, wishing they could pounce over and snatch it. This black dragon pattern sword interweaved Tao and truth, and it was definitely the older generation's favorite. It was priceless. Of course, it also had a fatal flaw, and that was that it was too small. It could only be measured with a piece, and compared to normal weapons it was like a sesame seed. Many great figures would refine an iron peak or several great mountains when refining magical treasures, and the materials used were in the tens of thousands of pounds. Its value lay in the fact that it interweaved a portion of its own laws, and the materials were divine objects. Even though it was small, it was still an exceptional treasure. "Seniors, let me think about it myself." These old men couldn't be provoked, and Yi Fan didn't want to offend them. The black dragon pattern sword was only half an inch long, and its entire body was jet black. It was sparkling and translucent, and it didn't move at all in the palm of his hand. There were dragon-shaped patterns on its surface, profound and natural. These were natural dragon patterns of the great Tao, and also the origin of its name. The more Yi Fan looked at it, the more he liked it. He felt that if he used his powerful divine sense to control it, it would definitely be unstoppable, and it could greatly increase his combat strength. However, cutting out this rare treasure in front of everyone and wanting him to stay might cause great trouble. This was a problem that gave him a headache. After thinking about it carefully, he already had many treasures in his hands, and the most important thing now was to collect origin source and raise his cultivation level. "Let me see." The little nun from the great Xia dynasty revealed a hopeful expression. Yi Fan handed it to her, and the little nun in white held it in her palm. Her large eyes blinked and she couldn't shift her gaze away no matter what. "Little brother, please sell it to us." The great Xia prince spoke again, wanting to buy the sword. "My sister likes it so much as her elder brother, I want to give it to her as a gift. This old man also likes it, but no one wants to give it to me, so I can only buy it myself." An old man at the side joked. "Yes, as old men we can only buy it for ourselves. Little brother, do you think 180,000 origin source is enough?" The little nun in white returned the black sword to Yi Fan. She was reluctant to part with it, and her large eyes glanced around, unable to shift away. The purple-clothed demon Yuekong smiled and said, "Little brother, don't be in a difficult position. Who should you sell it to? Just put it in our Sky Demon Treasure Tower for auction." Yi Fan was surrounded by the crowd, and it was difficult for him to get away. At this moment, the elegant Jiang Yifei entered the garden, and after bowing to the old nun, he also came forward to buy the sword. At the same time, and Miaoi walked over gracefully. Her fragrance that was like an orchid drifted in the air, her eyes were clear like water, and she had a sweet smile on her face. Although she didn't say anything, it was clear that she was also interested in this sword. Li Heishui squeezed in with great difficulty and said, "Everyone, you all know the origin of this sword. It is the weapon of slaughter of the future Holy Spirit. It was nurtured by the 9-orifice stone man. This is the holy sword born from heaven and earth." Everyone couldn't help but sigh in amazement at how miraculous creation was. A black gold dragon-patterned holy object was born between the 9-orifice stone golem's eyebrows and transformed into a holy sword. All of this was too inconceivable, shocking, and inconceivable. Yi Fan smiled and said, "Seniors, let me think about it carefully. In any case, I will not be leaving the Divine City in the near future. When the time comes, I will give you a satisfactory answer." From start to finish, the one who was the calmest was the Tao One Holy Land's female Taoist priest. She stood in the distance, her eyes calm and indifferent. Yi Fan put away the large pile of origin source on the ground. Rays of light flickered and sparkled. It could be said that his harvest was huge. He had obtained another 50,000 kilograms of origin source. Those who gambled with him all had ashen faces without a trace of blood. Especially Wu Ziming and the others, they had the urge to kill. They felt that they had been tricked. This was a trap waiting for them to fall into it. "Hey brat, you guys are ruthless enough. If you say another word, I will fight with you." Li Heishui mocked, Just now you were mocking us and mocking us. How do you feel now? Using the words you used to mock us, we fell from the 9 heavens to the ground. Let me add another sentence, we still fell face first. You, Wu Ziming and the others were so angry that their bodies trembled, but they couldn't do anything. Now that Yi Fan's origin source technique was astonishing, he was the center of attention like a moon surrounded by stars. Even people like in Miaoyi Yao Yuekong, and the elders with great backgrounds didn't want to get involved. Yi Fan had first obtained the divine medicine, then the holy sword from the 9-orifice stone golem. At this moment he had naturally become a popular figure and many people wanted to rope him in. Brothers, I have already booked a banquet at the drunken Immortal Inn. We will not return until we are drunk. The prince of the great Xia secretly transmitted his voice. This was something that had already been agreed upon, so Yi Fan didn't refuse and agreed. Let's celebrate today, Yao Yuekong said with a smile. He also had the same idea and he had mentioned it before. Before that I have to pay my debt. Yi Fan walked forward, arriving in front of Master Yuan and the old nun, and piled the 45,000 kilograms of origin source on the ground. The 9-orifice stone golem was extremely expensive, and if it wasn't for the dragon rune black gold holy sword, it would have been a huge loss. Not far away, the supreme elder of the disillusionment palace, Li Yishui, was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. This was equivalent to him paying the bill. He had been tricked into such a cowardly state, and he was literally rushing to deliver the source. How could he endure this? Today we will have a good chat about origin source techniques, the prince said, his sister following beside him. And Miaoyi suddenly transmitted her voice with a smile. Miaoyi, I intend to prepare a table of delicacies for lunch and toast with wine. I wonder if little brother is free? She was the most beautiful woman in the Eastern Barren territory, and every frown and smile of hers could move people's hearts. Being invited by her was something that many people wished for. She quietly waited for Yi Fan's reply. If news of this were to spread, many men in the divine city would definitely be envious and jealous. Jiang Yifei's white robe was spotless, and he looked like a jade tree in the wind. His smile was very infectious and he didn't step forward. Instead he spoke to Li Heishui wanting to invite the two of them. Beside him, many elders were also very direct, and they extended an olive branch to Yi Fan. They were not only interested in the dragon rune black gold holy sword, but also his origin source techniques. Naturally, many people had the same idea. If they could befriend a origin source technique genius, it would naturally be beneficial in the future. Chapter 337. The Divine City was a place where experts from Eastern Barren, the royal family of Central Plains, and the overlords of Northern Plains would often appear. Everything here was luxurious and prosperous. The Drunken Immortal Inn was known as one of the 8 great immortal inns of the Divine City. It floated in the air. This was a bejeweled jade palace. Every brick and tile of the palace was carved out of jade, and it was beautiful and magnificent like a dream. Yi Fan and Li Heishui rejected the others and went to the Drunken Immortal Inn with the prince and Yao Yuekong. The little nun went with them. The palace was surrounded by white mist. It was richly decorated as if they had arrived at the ancient heaven. The group flew into the air and stood on the white jade stairs. They looked back and saw the mist. It was like they had arrived at the celestial world. May I ask the heavens if there are celestials? The prince of Great Xia murmured in his heart. Yi Fan was startled. Comparing the past with the present, he was dazed. In this world, cultivators could fly in the sky and travel 1,000 miles in the blink of an eye. If he was in his hometown, he would already be a celestial being. The white jade road stretched forward like a bridge that led to the heavens. They strolled on it, advancing step by step. Many spiritual birds and rare beasts danced among the clouds. Among the majestic palaces, 16 young girls flew in the sky and landed in the mist. They bowed respectfully and led the group forward. The Drunken Immortal Inn was very particular. It was a retro building that looked like it had been through thousands of eras. It was majestic and had a deep foundation. Li Heishui smiled. Everything here belongs to the Huangjin family. Brother Yuekong, aren't you afraid of attracting trouble? Those who come are guests. They won't be unreasonable and ruin their reputation. Yao Yuekong's strength was shocking. It was hard to find a worthy opponent among the same generation. Not long ago he fought with the descendant of the Huangjin family. Esteemed guest, this way please. The 16 young girls were not weak cultivators. However, they could only lead the way and serve the dishes for the guests. Southern Heaven Gate. Yi Fan's expression changed. There were 3 ancient words engraved on the grand gate in front of him. As he walked here, there were clouds and mist everywhere beneath his feet. This place was built to imitate the legendary ancient heaven, the Prince of Great Xia introduced. It was obvious that he was a regular here. Why haven't I heard of the ancient heaven? Yifan asked. 10,000 years ago, the Qing Emperor mentioned that he wanted to build a celestial court. He had laid out such a layout, but he eventually fell, Yao Yuekong explained. The Azure Emperor was the great emperor of the fiend race from 10,000 years ago. He was Yin Ryu's ancestor. As for how long he had lived, it was hard to say. It can't be that some ancient heavenly court really collapsed, right? Yifan was suspicious. Impossible, Emperor Qing only mentioned it. The prince of the Great Xia dynasty shook his head. After passing through the southern heavenly gate, there was an incomparably spacious area ahead. It was divided into 4 regions, each with the 4 sceneries of spring, summer, autumn, and winter. This place. Yifan was surprised. It was much more spacious than on the ground. There were many palaces here. The 4 gardens had 4 different scenes of the 4 seasons. Yao Yuekong said, there are 4 barriers here. Although they can't be compared to the small worlds created by the ancient sages, they are almost independent spaces. The Golden Family of Northern Plains has a deep understanding of the Tao of space. A young girl beside him said softly, esteemed guest, please choose the garden. In the end, Yifan chose the winter scenery. Ever since he came to this world, he had never seen a season with snowflakes. The cold air brushed against their faces. The palace was covered in silver and snow. Standing under the palace, all they could see was a vast expanse of whiteness. Yifan was lost in thought. He thought about the snowy season in the past. Those people and things, now they were separated by a galaxy. It would be difficult to meet them again. A delicate fragrance drifted over. The plum trees were proud of the snow and the wind. The flowers bloomed in the bitter cold. They sat down and enjoyed the snow and the flowers while drinking. It was a unique scene. After drinking several times the fine wine, even the little nun in white's face was flushed and her big eyes were sparkling. Princess, you are a monk. How can you drink? Yifan joked. The little nun in white did not cut off her hair and covered it with a snow-white hat. She wrinkled her delicate nose and murmured in a low voice, I'm cultivating in the secular world. Yao Yuekong said, I have long heard that Buddhism has all kinds of divine arts. They are all amazing in the world, but I have never seen them before. Yifan wanted to get information about Sakyamuni from the Buddhist faction, but the prince and the little nun of Great Xia didn't talk about it in detail. What is the name of Buddha now? Past Buddha or Tathagata Buddha? Yifan asked Li Heishui secretly. Buddha is the revered one. There are no other names. The little nun said. What kind of Buddha is Sakyamuni? Yifan asked indifferently. The little nun's blushing face froze. She stared at the wine glass with her big eyes and didn't say anything else. The prince sighed, Sigh, let's not mention this name. It is a taboo in Western Desert. I also want to know what happened. I have flipped through many ancient books and can only come to one conclusion. There is no Tathagata Buddha in Buddhism. Why do you say that? Yifan asked in confusion. It seems like the Buddha has already perished. The Prince of Great Xia shook his head slowly after saying this. Brother Xia, you are in the wrong. Li Heishui raised his glass and drank. We have already said this much. Why are you still hesitating? Are you trying to keep us in suspense? The prince was called Xia Yiming and the little nun was called Xia Yilin. After getting to know each other, they started to call each other casually. He is the revered one, but he isn't. The traitor might have something to do with him. Some say he is the demonic shell of Buddha. Xia Yiming didn't say anything else. Yao Yuekong said, Your Royal Highness, can't you be a bit more specific? This is just a little secret that I've heard. There's nothing else. You must not speak of it or else you will be killed. Grand Xia Prince Xia Yiming said. What secret? Who will kill us? Yifan asked. Let's not talk about this. There is nothing to gain from it. Xia Yiming shook his head firmly. Brother Xia, with your status, why are you afraid? Yao Yuekong didn't understand. We really don't need to talk about Buddhism. Xia Yiming raised his eyes and looked around at the endless snow, saying, Mount Meru is not an ordinary place. Seeing him like this, the others didn't ask any further. The prince's knowledge was indeed limited. Yifan asked another question. How long has Buddhism existed? It has existed since ancient times. The little nun lowly Xia Yilin's pure big eyes were filled with doubt. She looked at him as if he didn't even know this. Since ancient times? Yifan was shocked. Buddhism existed before the Sakyamuni 2,000 years ago. This left him in a daze. There aren't many people in the East Baron who know about Buddhism. It's fine if you don't know about it. Yao Yuekong smiled. Yifan thought about it. On the other side of the universe, Buddhism was created by Gautama Buddha, but there were already Buddhists before him. Rather than saying it was created, it was more accurate to say it was spread. In some ancient scriptures, it was recorded that Gautama Buddha saw Buddhists cultivating at the expense of their bodies. He thought that it was not the right way, so there was the Rulai Dharma. He felt that he had grasped something, so he didn't ask any further. He thought about it for a while before coming back to his senses. Outside the palace, there was a vast expanse of whiteness. Snow swirled in the air, and the fragrance of plum blossoms wafted through the air. The few of them drank and chatted merrily. This banquet cost 250 kilograms of source energy. It was quite expensive, but compared to the legendary Immortal banquet, it was nothing. The Immortal banquets here cost tens of thousands of kilograms of source energy. They are specially prepared for divine lords and mighty beings, and they need to be booked in advance. Otherwise it would be difficult to gather all the ingredients. Even Sky Demon Palace's young lord Yao Yuekong was speechless. Isn't it too exaggerated? Yi Fan asked. It's not an exaggeration at all. Take one of the dishes, divine phoenix wings, as an example. It's really cooked from a bird king that has part of the bloodline of the divine phoenix. It condenses all of its essence, and ordinary cultivators can break through a realm after eating it. Yi Fan suddenly asked, is there a heavenly rock wing? There was a heavenly rock banquet in the past, but the old rock king made a big fuss over it. In the end, the golden-winged heavenly rock was cancelled because of him. Yi Fan opened his mouth, speechless. Li Heishui said, there are only a few immortal banquets a year. Only when the Divine Lord invites the mighty beings will it be held. Let's not think too much about it. But I really want to drink a cup of enlightenment tea from the immortal banquet. It is said that even mighty beings can gain enlightenment from it. Yao Yuekong shook his head. Enlightenment tea is a rare item in the immortal banquet. It's priceless. There is only one tree of enlightenment in the entire Eastern Baron. It's good enough to collect 30 leaves every year. God knows how many people are watching. There is only one tree of enlightenment in the world. Where is it? Yi Fan was surprised. In the Undying Mountain, Yao Yuekong said. Hiss. Everyone sucked in a cold breath. The Undying Mountain was one of the 7 forbidden zones in the Eastern Baron. It was located in the north of the central region. Yao Yuekong said, the only tree of enlightenment is still growing in the Undying Mountain. Every year, only 30 leaves can be sent out. That's not far from the Holy Cliff, right? Yi Fan asked. That's right, it's not too far away. It said that the sacred cliff was a cliff that was cut out of the Undying Mountain by someone with peerless magic power. Yao Yuekong was worthy of being the young master of the Sky Demon Palace. He knew many things. Yi Fan nodded. He had to make a trip to this place, and it wouldn't be too long because the Holy Cliff had the 9 secrets. The Holy Cliff was connected to the Undying Mountain. Ancient Saint Huang died there. The cliff was dyed dark red with blood. There was also a great emperor carved formation runes there. Yi Fan felt that there must be a lot of secrets there. Suddenly, music could be heard. In the palace next door, a girl in white was playing solo. A flock of spirit birds were attracted. These palaces were open for the nobles to admire the snow and plum blossoms. They could see each other sometimes. It's in Miaoyi. Yi Fan's expression changed. Farian, why are you playing solo here? The Grand Xia Prince asked. Miaoyi also arranged a banquet here. I wanted to toast little brother Gu Feng with wine, but I was rejected. And Miaoyi's brows were arched. Her flawless face had a faint smile. Gu Feng was Yi Fan's current name. He couldn't walk around the divine city with his real name. Farian, why do you say that? Why don't we drink together? Yi Fan smiled. Yao Yuekong and the Prince of Great Xia also invited her. And Miaoyi smiled lightly and nodded. Then she walked over gracefully. She walked over and glanced at Yi Fan with her big eyes. She smiled and said, little brother Gu Feng, you are the first person to reject me. Miaoyi is very vengeful. Chapter 338. And Miaoyi gracefully sat down. She had a natural body fragrance that smelled like orchids and musk. She would occasionally take a sip and speak witty words. She clinked glasses with a few people and very quickly blended in, not feeling like she had suddenly joined the group. The Great Xia Prince and Yao Yuekong were not ordinary people, so they would not be moved by ordinary beauty. However, and Miaoyi had a strange charm that made people uncontrollably feel good about her. Little brother Gu Feng, Miaoyi offers you a cup of wine. You won't refuse this time, right? Her smile was very sweet. Yi Fan took a sip of wine and said, next time I will invite Farian to admire flowers under the moon as an apology. Yao Yuekong immediately laughed. Under the moon? Little brother Gu is still young, don't learn bad things. And Miaoyu rolled her eyes at him. Although she came from Miaoyu nunnery, she was usually as pure as ice and as clean as jade, like a snow lotus on a cold peak, sacred and inviolable. At this moment her smile was like a flower, giving her a unique charm. Yifan smiled, how would I dare? Brother Yuekong has misunderstood me. Fairy and is as beautiful as the moon fairy. Last time Yiyu's zither music left a deep impression on me. I was thinking that if I apologize under the moon, I might be able to see an immortal dance again. The great Xia prince smiled, how about fairy and perform an immortal dance for us now? The snow is swirling, do you have the heart to let me dance in the cold wind? And Miaoyu smiled faintly, but eventually stood up and went to the plum trees outside the palace. She danced like a cloud, her clothes purer than snow. Like a fairy, she danced in the snow, her graceful figure vividly displaying a kind of gentleness. The plum blossoms danced in the air, sparkling and translucent, revolving around her. There were specks of red in the pure white, making her look even more ethereal. Good. Good. Waves of cheers came from the other palaces. Many people could see the flawless figure of an immortal dance in the snow. Not long after, and Miaoyu gracefully floated into the hall. Even the little nun in white was influenced and became much closer to Miaoyu. Little brother Gu's Genesis technique is amazing, how did you cultivate it? As they drank and chatted merrily, they finally brought up this question. This was what everyone wanted to know. It's just some ancient techniques passed down in my family. It's hardly elegant, Yifan replied. Yao Yuekong said, Little brother Gu, you are too humble. Although you have only fought 2 or 3 times, I can tell that you have some amazing skills. Great Xia Prince Xia Yiming said, so it comes from a Genesis technique clan. I wonder which clan it is from? Yifan already knew that there were a few Genesis technique families in the northern region that had a long history and were very famous. They also had close relationships with the great sage. A small family in the mountains not even worth mentioning. It's not some aristocratic clan, and merely some shallow Genesis techniques passed down by their ancestors that they never use. When Yao Yuekong heard this he said, as expected of an expert. A hidden clan. It can't be the Yuan Taoist Masters branch with the longest heritage, right? That is the strongest Genesis technique branch in the world. Yifan shook his head and said, Little brother Gu, you are too humble. I can see that your Genesis technique is quite ancient. It can't be the Yuan Taoist Masters branch, right? That's the strongest Genesis technique branch in the world. The prince said, Little brother Gu, you are too humble. I can see that your Genesis technique is quite ancient, and I'm afraid it's not much weaker than the Yuan Taoist Masters branch. There are a few great Genesis technique families in the northern region, and I feel that your Genesis technique is better than theirs. I've seen 2 of their successors and they are definitely not your match. Yao Yuekong said. And Miaoyu smiled, of course I know. I heard that a few people from a Genesis technique family came to the 9 orifice stone statue, but they gave up in the end. How can they compare to little brother Gu? To be honest, I was just guessing. Since I had already cut out the divine herb, I just took a gamble. Yifan smiled and changed the topic. He didn't want to dwell on this. Li Heishui said, Your Highness, your Xia Empire has a royal family stationed in Divine City all year round. Are you really that concerned about Genesis technique? Indeed. The great Xia Prince answered. Yifan swirled the wine in his jade cup and said, I've heard some rumors but I don't know if they are true or false. Yao Yuekong also said, I've also heard some rumors, can Brother Xia explain to us? The great Xia Prince Xia Yiming put down his cup and said, What you've heard must be that our ancestors obtained a heavenly book from a stone when they cut the Genesis technique, allowing us to rise unstoppably and establish the great Xia Empire. Is that true? Yes, that is the legend. Li Heishui nodded. And Miaoyu was also very concerned. She softly smiled and said, Your Highness, please tell us in detail. Let us understand more about it. The prince was overjoyed. It's all a rumor. How can the Tai Huang scripture be cut out from a stone? It was created by our ancestor, the Tai Huang scripture, and it represents a kind of achievement. The Tai Huang scripture was one of the 4 great scriptures of the Central Plains. Its offensive power was unparalleled in the Central Plains, and it seemed to be the strongest in the world. It was said that the only one that could compete with it was the fighting formula of the 9 esoteric arts. Unfortunately, this peerless saint art only appeared once every few hundred generations. The 2 great saint arts had never met before, and everyone wanted to know which one was stronger and which one was weaker. Yao Yuekong nodded and said, I'm also thinking, how could the Tai Huang scripture originate from someone else? The Tai Huang scripture was a legend, close to the level of a god. Some said that he could go against the laws of nature and kill immortals. Back then, his offensive power made the entire world tremble. Once he used his imperial draconic chi, no one in the world could compete with him. The Grand Emperor had left behind an indelible mark of glory in the annals of history. Xia Yiming said, "The reason why the great Xia imperial clan resides in the northern divine city is purely because we need the source and the rare treasures within it." The crowd didn't believe it. At least there were other rumors. Some said that they wanted to refine a cauldron of immortal pills, while others said that they wanted to repair a saint weapon. Yao Yuekong said, "According to the ancient records of the northern divine city, more than 100,000 years ago, during the desolate era, a peerless beauty was cut out of a rock. Do you think it's similar to the 9-orifice golem?" Li Heishui shook his head and said, "It's hard to say. Maybe it's an ancient creature that was sealed in the source. It said that the land of the great sage couldn't stop her and let her escape." And Miaoyi said, "The source isn't just for gambling, there are even more valuable things." Li Heishui said. When they talked about the source, they couldn't help but mention the 2 rare treasures that Yi Fan had cut out. Everyone started to evaluate their value. That human-shaped godly medicine is too damaged, only 2 legs are left. It's worth at most a few 100,000 kilograms of source. The great Xia imperial prince said. Yao Yuekong nodded and said, "Its real value is less than 50,000 kilograms. Primordial godly medicine is more valuable than divine source, but it's still too damaged." Without a doubt he had the right to speak. After all, the Sky Fei Treasure Tower was one of the 7 great auction houses of the Divine City. If someone urgently needs it, they can auction it. I think there will be a huge increase in the price. Yi Fan smiled. Without a doubt, and Miaoyi was born with a clever mind. She instantly guessed what was going on and said, "The Holy Lands are attacking the Purple Mountain. If there are any casualties among the important figures, they will definitely fight to bid for the primordial divine medicine when they return." "That's right." Yi Fan smiled and nodded. "Unscrupulous businessman." The little nun in white mumbled. "Little sister, you can't say things like that. I'm saving lives." Yi Fan smiled. "Who's your little sister?" The little nun wrinkled her nose and rolled her eyes. "If that's the case, I think it can reach 300,000 kilograms of source." Yao Yuekong said. Gulp. Li Heishui gulped down a mouthful of wine to hide the sound of his own saliva. This was too shocking. A damaged primordial godly medicine was still so valuable. "What's the price of the black gold dragon vein sword?" He couldn't help but ask. "My 2 brothers, can't you sell this small sword to me? I will give you a satisfactory price." The prince was very sincere. It was obvious that the little nun in white really liked the small sword that was less than an inch long. Hearing this, her big eyes immediately blinked. "Miaoyi is cultivating a special art and urgently needs an invincible weapon. I also want to buy this sword." And Miaoyi smiled. Yi Fan flipped his hand and the black gold dragon vein sword appeared in his palm. He passed it to the others for them to admire. Yao Yuekong said, "Not long ago, someone from the Sky Fei Treasure Tower sent a black gold dragon vein sword smaller than a fingernail. It was sold for 40,000 kilograms of source." Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. An emperor's exclusive holy item was indeed ridiculously expensive. It was many times more valuable than a god source of the same size. The ancient emperors needed a lot of resources to forge an extreme divine weapon. It couldn't be measured with such a granular object. If one thought about it, an extreme divine weapon, not to mention the Tao and reason contained within, just the material alone was hard to measure its terrifying value. No wonder the ancient emperors couldn't find the materials they needed even after searching the world. "This is ridiculous." The others looked at the sword. The great Xia prince said, "This sword has been nurtured for a limited time. It is far from being born. It has just begun to interweave Tao and reason." And Miaoyi said, "This sword is less than an inch long. If it is melted, it will be similar to the black gold dragon vein sword sold for 40,000 kilograms of source. Considering that it contains part of its own laws, we can add another 70,000 kilograms of source. It can't be that cheap, right?" Li Heishui said. And Miaoyi smiled. "If we consider that it was born from the 9-orifice golem, a saint spirit sword born from heaven and earth, we can add another 50,000 kilograms of source." 250,000 kilograms of source? Li Heishui's heart was beating fast. Yao Yuekong said, "In fact, it is even more precious. A saint sword born from the 9-orifice golem could sell for 350,000 kilograms of source." Even the great Xia prince couldn't bear it when he heard that number. let alone in Miaui. Although they had super forces behind them, they couldn't just randomly buy rare materials. 300,000 plus 350,000. That's 650,000 kilograms of source. Li Heishui felt dizzy. Yi Fan thought for a moment and said, if I don't want ordinary source, can I trade it for xenogeneic source? Yao Yuekong said, it will be difficult. No one wants to trade for xenogeneic source. If you want to trade, I think the price will drop by 2/3. What? That's a big difference. Yi Fan was shocked. Pure source is very weak for people with high cultivation. It is not even as dense as their own spirit chi. Xenogeneic source, on the other hand, is different. It is a concentrated essence. For high-level cultivators, it is useless for their practice, but it is good for recovering god powers. 650,000 kilograms of pure source. If you trade it for xenogeneic source, it will only be worth 200,000 kilograms? Yi Fan was shocked. Something like that. The great Xia prince nodded. That. Yi Fan was speechless. But he had no choice. Otherwise he would need 1,000,000 kilograms of source to level up. It would be like a mountain. How could he refine it all? He would be drowned. The only thing he was happy about was that he had mastered the source technique, so he could continue to gamble on stones and other holy lands. It should not be a problem to collect what he needed. Dong. Suddenly the sound of a bell rang through the sky. The entire god city was shaking. This bell? Yi Fan was shocked. The Purple Mountain Wuxia bell was ringing again. It's the same as last time. Everyone stood up, feeling incomparably shocked. They felt a type of incomparably grand and majestic aura. Without a doubt, the great sage had attacked the Purple Mountain for the second time, but they had run back. They did not know what had happened this time. Brother Yuekong, let's start the auction. Yi Fan said. Then Li Heishui said to Yi Fan, that mortal yuan fruit that was eaten by a dog should be auctioned. He could not help but laugh. Chapter 339. The Divine City resonated. The great sage lords crossed the void and brought the sound waves of the Wuxia bell over. Purple Mountain was the great bell left behind by great Emperor Wuxia. It had recently become the focal point of the world. The second attack on Purple Mountain ended in failure. The Holy Lands returned with heavy casualties, and the Divine City was shaken. An hour later, the news spread that 3 holy lords were heavily injured. Many of the older generation were turned to dust by the Wuxia bell wave, their bodies and souls destroyed. Hiss. After hearing this result, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Everyone in the Divine City was shocked. This time, the great sage lords reached an agreement with the 13 northern region bandits. They wanted to enter Purple Mountain with the help of the heaven-devouring evil jar, but they still failed. If not for the ancient heaven-devouring jar blocking the Wuxia bell wave at the crucial moment, the holy lords would be in danger. The dragon pattern cauldron, divine sun cauldron, and void ancient mirror were used to suppress the so-called trump cards. This time they were not used. Half an extreme path weapon could not stop the Wuxia bell. After such a major event, they were naturally not in the mood to sit anymore. They all stood up and the banquet ended. Before leaving, and Miaui smiled sweetly. Little brother Gu, if you want to sell the black dragon pattern sword, you must consider Miaui. In just a few days the news spread all over the world. Everyone was shocked. What did great Emperor Wuxia leave behind? No one could control the bell, but it still had such power. It was truly terrifying. Yi Fan did not continue gambling. He waited for the Sky Demon Treasure Tower to auction the ancient divine medicine. These days he finally went around the Divine City with Li Heishui's company. He couldn't help but sigh. It was indeed a giant city left behind by a god. Inside the Divine City, not all places were extremely luxurious. There were also old tea houses on the roadside. I guess the Holy Lands will definitely use extreme path weapons next time. Half a heaven-devouring jar won't be able to stop the bell wave. Great Emperor Wuxia has great achievements. Everyone is jealous of the inheritance he left behind. The Holy Lands will definitely use their extreme path holy weapons. In a shabby little tea house, everyone was talking about the Purple Mountain incident. Although the tea house was small, no one found it shabby, because some legendary almighty figures would sometimes appear in such places. Yi Fan and Li Heishui were also sitting there, waiting for the upcoming auction. In a while, when the auction house's bell rang, they would enter the Sky Fei Treasure Tower. All the Holy Lands are really having a rough time. The number of people who died this time is even more than the last time. It's rumored that even a Saint Lord is heavily injured and on the verge of death. This is truly a huge matter. A few days ago, didn't he cut out the primordial divine medicine? That brat is really lucky. If he takes it out to auction now, it will definitely be a heaven-defying price. Yifan rubbed his chin. He didn't say anything and listened attentively. Li Heishui murmured, "This is called, opportunities always go to those who are prepared. Not everyone can step on dog sh*t. I heard that the forces outside the Eastern Barren Territory are getting restless. I heard that the 4 immortal dynasties of the Middle Plains have all sent their experts here." As soon as these words came out, everyone gasped. Since ancient times, the Middle Plains had always been the center of the world. It had always been prosperous and had countless experts. Unless the Arch was born, the Middle Plains, the Southern Mountains, and the Northern Plains had always been the strongest. The 4 immortal dynasties ruled over the world. It didn't mean that they only had these 4 ancient inheritances, but that they were the most powerful. Apart from the 4 great mystical books of the Middle Plains, there were also some ancient scriptures. Although they weren't created by thearchs, they were still extremely profound. If a few sect masters or royal lords come, the Purple Mountain will be really lively. All the Holy Lands will have to use their extreme path weapons or they will lose the initiative. They must make a big move in the near future. Everyone drank tea and discussed at the same time. Everyone was very concerned. This is too far away from us. It's not something ordinary people can touch. Let's talk about something else. Is there any special news recently? Finally, they got tired of this topic and started to talk about other things. 40 Dao comprehension tea leaves from the Undying Mountain flew out this year. This is more than in previous years. It's a pity that the divine tree grows in the Undying Mountain. Otherwise, how many Dao comprehension tea leaves could such an ancient tree produce every year? There's no point in complaining. Only the big shots get to enjoy such a rare treasure once in a while. By the way, that sacred body of the ancients has been making quite a ruckus recently. He's been looting and robbing bandits everywhere. All the Holy Lands and the younger generation are trying to catch him, but they've been unsuccessful every time. Yifan laughed when he heard the news. It must have been Tu Fei who hired someone to do all this. He has the source chi of Myriad on him. All the Holy Lands want to catch him. The saints are all out in search of him. You guys might not know this, but the latest news is really shocking. What's wrong? What happened? The dog with the sacred body of the ancients is really shining. It's smearing all the Holy Lands' names. Yifan and Li Heishui looked at each other when they heard this. What did the Black Emperor do? They listened carefully. That dog is even fiercer than the sacred body of the ancients. It's biting people from the Holy Lands everywhere, specifically targeting the younger generation. The elders of all the Holy Lands were attacking the Purple Mountain, and the younger generation were looking for the sacred body of the ancients to seize the source chi of Myriad. The big black dog was extremely ferocious. In less than 20 days, it had bitten a total of 63 people, all of whom were disciples of the Holy Lands. It's strange. Every time this dog bites someone it will howl. 500 kilograms of source chi. Kid, you know what it means? I really don't know what it means. Yifan was speechless when he heard this. The dog was indeed doing its best, but it was too greedy. It was obviously howling at him, demanding 500 kilograms of source chi for each person it bit. Of the 63 people bitten by this dog, 49 were female disciples. Nowadays, the female disciples of all the Holy Lands turn pale at the mention of this dog. This perverted dog. Yifan cursed in his mind. The most interesting thing is that it's clamoring to take the saints and saintesses as its human pets. Many people in the tea house spat out their tea when they heard the news. This dog is too outrageous. What a powerful dog. It dares to challenge the Holy Lands. The latest news is that the dog really captured a few disciples of the Holy Lands and made them call it master. In the end, those people directly broke down. There's such a thing? I heard that the saints are pursuing that dog with all their strength. Yifan was slightly speechless. The big black dog was too capable. As expected, he was very outstanding. Dang! The sound of a bell rang out, spreading throughout the entire God City. It wasn't the Wuxia bell, but the great bell of the Sky Demon Artifact Tower. It announced to everyone in the God City that there was going to be a peerless treasure auctioned. Every time such a bell rang out, the God City would be shaken. This time was no exception. Many people soared into the sky, flying towards the artifact tower in the sky. We have to be careful later. I reckon there might be Saint Lord level characters here, Yifan said. Li Heishui nodded. They soared into the sky and arrived at the Sky Demon Artifact Tower. Clouds surged and palaces were everywhere. There was also a spatial enchantment here, and it was many times vaster than what they saw from below. There was a massive palace in the center. It seemed to have been built by an ancient giant. It was extremely tall and grand, like a mountain standing in the center. This was the famous Sky Demon Artifact Tower. Even 100,000 people could come and they would all have seats. It was extremely luxurious, and its entire body flickered with purple light. It was completely forged from precious violet sunstones, and it flowed with dreamy colors. When Yi Fan and Li Heishui arrived, they just happened to encounter Wu Ziming and Li Zhongtian. Beside them, there was also a young man with an extraordinary temperament. When he saw Yi Fan and Li Heishui, Wu Ziming's face instantly darkened and he sneered. "Brother Wu, what are you laughing foolishly about? Could it be that there is some joyous occasion?" Li Heishui asked. The other party was clearly sneering coldly. His voice was bone-chilling and filled with killing intent, but he still said this. "Black brat, don't be so smug. I'll teach you a lesson." Li Zhongtian said coldly. "Don't tell me you want to kill us and rob us?" Li Heishui did not care. Wu Ziming coldly said, "Don't think that just because you know a little Genesis technique that you can do as you please in Divine City. There will be powerful people who will trample you to death." "Who wants to trample us to death?" Yi Fan indifferently asked. "Someone will use a Genesis technique to trample you to death." Li Zhongtian sneered. "What you have learned is nothing more than a country bumpkin technique. In front of a true Genesis technique aristocratic family, it is nothing." Wu Ziming mocked. "We haven't learned much, but someone just had to give us tens of thousands of kilograms of Genesis energy." Li Heishui laughed. "These two were the ones who cut open the 9-orifice stone golem?" Beside him, a man in embroidered robes exuded a faint arrogance and conceit. "That's right, it's these two brats." Li Zhongtian answered. "All right, I'll remember this. I will go to the stone square and gamble until their faces turn green. They won't dare to step into this trade for the rest of their lives." The man in embroidered robes swept an indifferent glance at Yi Fan and Li Heishui, not giving them a second glance. Wu Ziming sneered, "Just you wait, a stone gambling battle is about to begin. As long as you appear in the stone square, I will make your faces turn green." Dealing with them counts as a stone gambling battle? The man in embroidered robes shook his head, a cold smile appearing on his lips. "Unless the Yuan Taoist master is reborn." He did not even look at Yi Fan and Li Heishui as he walked away. Wu Ziming and Li Zhongtian were extremely courteous to the man in embroidered robes, accompanying him as they hurriedly followed. "Who is that guy?" Li Heishui looked at the three from the corner of his eyes. "He should be someone from a Genesis technique aristocratic family, and is most likely an amazing genius." Yi Fan said as he gazed at that person's back. "How are you so sure?" Li Heishui asked. "That person's right index finger has a faint golden luster. This is the embodiment of the golden touch technique," Yi Fan said. "Can you deal with him?" Li Heishui asked. "I'll only know after I try." Yi Fan smiled calmly. "From the looks of it, you can most likely trick him?" Li Heishui smirked. "It's hard to say, this person is very powerful." Yi Fan smiled. When they arrived at the Sky Demon Treasure Tower, Yao Yuekong had been waiting for them for a long time. He led the two to a VIP room upstairs, where they could clearly see everything in the auction hall. At this moment there was a sea of people. It was unknown how many cultivators had come, but there were almost no empty seats. "The Red Dragon Taoist is here too." Li Heishui pointed downwards. The Red Dragon Taoist was sitting in an inconspicuous seat with the others. The people around him obviously did not know that he was a terrifying person. "There's a good show to watch. The price of the divine medicine will definitely not be low. Look, even the people from the sacred grounds are here." Li Heishui laughed. There were many treasures in this auction, and the ancient divine medicine was destined to be the highlight. Suddenly Li Heishui stopped laughing and said, "I saw my grandfather. Please don't be a fool, especially not for that fruit that was eaten by a dog." Even the 13 bandits had come. One could imagine how tempting the ancient divine medicine was. Suddenly Yi Fan saw a few people wearing dragon crowns. He was surprised and said, "Are those the big shots from the Central Plains Eternal Dynasty?" Li Heishui also noticed and nodded. "They must be here for the Purple Mountain Wusher's inheritance." They came to the Divine City on the way. There were a few people wearing dragon crowns on their heads who had extraordinary appearances. They weren't members of the imperial clan of the Grand Xia, and they entered one of the VIP suites. "And Baldies, there are a few old Baldies over there." Li Heishui stared blankly and said, "These old Baldies seem to have halos on the back of their heads." Yi Fan was shocked and said, "Western Desert Buddhists with halos on the back of their heads? This is really terrifying." At the same time he couldn't help but sigh. The great Emperor Wusher's fame had shaken the world. The moment the inheritance appeared, it caused a huge commotion. These people must be here for the Purple Mountain. Chapter 340. A few old monks had pale golden skin and faint halos behind their heads. They walked into a VIP room and disappeared. Have these old monks cultivated the golden body? Yi Fan had heard of the golden body of Buddhism on the other side of the starry sky. Even people from the western desert have come. Emperor Wuxia's inheritance has indeed shaken the world. It's really influential. Li Haishui sighed. Suddenly, his expression froze and he said telepathically, "Over there, an existence even more terrifying than the Green Flood Dragon King has come." Yi Fan followed his gaze and saw a middle-aged man in his 40s. He had fair skin, a tall figure, and a lean appearance. Who is he? This is the third greatest bandit of the northern region, Su Tianxiong. He's Su Yuan and Su Heng's grandfather. Li Haishui introduced. Yi Fan paid attention, remembering his appearance. This was an extremely terrifying figure. He personally suppressed Su Yuan, so this definitely couldn't be exposed or else there would be a great disaster. Before long Yi Fan saw the Grand Xia Prince and the white-robed nun. They accompanied a middle-aged man wearing a dragon crown and a golden dragon robe. That middle-aged man was extremely valiant. One could vaguely see 9 true dragons coiling around his body, coiling around his golden battle suit. On top of the dragon crown on his head, there was even a dragon head formed from dragon chi. It was a shocking sight. This must be an important figure of the Grand Xia royal family. The draconic chi has taken form and formed a dragon's head. This is a sign that the supreme imperial scripture has been cultivated to an extremely high level. Li Haishui was astonished. Many powerful figures had come, but he didn't know most of them. The resplendent auction hall was packed with people as far as the eye could see. Now Yi Fan and Li Haishui weren't worried. Since all the Holy Lands had come, the damaged divine medicine would definitely fetch a sky-high price. Li Haishui said, "I've already investigated. It seems that the Alcade Saint is gravely injured. The main reason is that her vitality was injured by the Peacock King's primal chaos seal. This time she almost died at Mount Purple." Yi Fan couldn't help but look at an inconspicuous spot in the crowd. The old Taoist red dragon sat in the crowd and didn't even look at the various sacred grounds. As expected, he was fearless. He had personally participated in killing Sacred Lord Wavering Light last time, and he still dared to come here. But thinking about it, it made sense. The Holy Lands and the 13 bandits had temporarily reconciled. They had borrowed the ancient heaven-devouring jar to attack Purple Mountain, so Taoist Crimson Dragon sitting here didn't count for much. Clang! The divine bell rang and the Sky Fae treasure tower quietened down. The auction was about to begin. At this time there were fewer people coming in and out. Almost all the important people and great forces had arrived, so there was no need to wait any longer. At the very front was a dragon platform made of yellow diamond. It was sparkling and sparkling, flowing with golden splendor. It was incomparably beautiful, and it was completely carved from yellow diamond. A white-haired old man walked onto the dragon platform and announced the start of the auction. 16 young ladies stood at the 2 sides of the dragon platform. They came from Sky Demon Palace, so they were naturally all fairies. They were graceful and beautiful, and their bodies were covered by pink muslin. They were in charge of presenting the auction items. At first, several small items were sold, but the highest price was less than 1,000 kilograms of source. Nothing was too shocking. The 4th auction item is a piece of ancient precious jade. The starting price is 1,000 kilograms of source. The white-haired old man announced from the dragon platform. A young fairy girl walked gracefully, her hair swaying in the wind. She carried a red sandalwood tray and walked onto the dragon platform. There was a piece of ancient jade on the tray. It was glossy and had exquisite patterns. Yi Fan's heart jumped. This piece of jade was too familiar. It was definitely an emperor jade. It was the broken jade left behind by great Emperor Wuxia. He didn't think he would see it here. It was being auctioned off with a starting price of 1,000 kilograms of source. This was simply a joke. If others knew of its origin, not to mention 1,000 kilograms of source, even 100,000 kilograms would be fought over crazily. What's so special about this piece of jade? Someone in the auction hall asked. This jade has a kind of Tao rhythm. It seems to be a jade pendant of a great figure in the past. The white-haired old man introduced. Everyone carefully observed it, but in the end they all shook their heads. No one made a bid. There was a blurry mark on the ancient jade. It was one of the 9 dragon veins. However, it was only a corner and not the entire dragon's body. This piece of jade is broken. Only a corner of the mountain can be seen. Even if one has seen the Purple Mountain and the 9 dragon veins, they won't be able to recognize it. Yi Fan was excited. Now, Great Emperor Wu Shi's inheritance had shaken the world. If someone recognized it, it would definitely cause a huge wave. At this moment, Yi Fan was extremely excited. He couldn't calm down more than if he had cut out a peerless treasure. 1,000 kilograms of source. He quoted the starting price. 1,000 kilograms of source. Suddenly, a voice came from another VIP room, opposing with equal harshness. Yi Fan recognized the voice. It was the young master in embroidered robes who came with Wu Ziming. He immediately frowned. 3,000 kilograms of source. 2,000 kilograms of source. The man in embroidered robes continued to raise the price. Li Heishui didn't understand. He said, "It's just a piece of broken jade. What are you buying it for?" This piece of jade was very important. Yi Fan couldn't say it or it would be a huge disaster. He had to get it, but he didn't want to be a fool. He smiled. An ancient jade from hundreds of thousands of years ago. I want to play with it. Since they want it too, I'll give it to them. 5,000 kilograms of source. If it's more than this price, they can take it. 6. The other side said 6, but he didn't say it in the end. In the end, Yi Fan bought the ancient jade for 5,000 kilograms of source. Although he spent a few thousand kilograms more, it was definitely worth it. If one wanted to enter the Purple Mountain, they had to use the ancient jade. This was the only key left behind by Great Emperor Wu Shi. If people knew about it, there would be mountains of corpses and seas of blood. It could open the inheritance of Great Emperor Wu Shi. Yi Fan was determined to get the Wu Shi scripture. Many important people were in the Sky Fei treasure tower. No one cared about these small items. They were all waiting for the ancient divine medicine. They didn't know that they had passed by a heaven-defying ancient jade. Fortunately, this was the case. Otherwise, there would be a shocking battle here. Wu Ziming and the others are deliberately raising the price to target us. Li Heishui was very dissatisfied. Yi Fan was in a good mood and didn't care. He said, "In the future, we will reason with them at the stone square in the Holy Land." In the end, the main event finally arrived. A young demoness carefully held a scroll and delivered it to the yellow dragon platform. The handwriting left behind by a supreme being. The starting price is 15,000 kilograms of source. The white-haired old man transmitted his voice. Boom. The auction hall immediately boiled over. Many people looked excited. Many grand elders of the great sects took action to bid for this item. 40,000 kilograms of source. 50,000 kilograms of source. This old man bid 70,000 kilograms of source. 80,000 kilograms of source. The scene was quite lively. A group of old men competed to bid. Many young people could only watch with envy. They couldn't participate at all. This group of old men seems to have taken aphrodisiac. Their eyes are all red. Li Heishui laughed. Don't speak nonsense. In this place, there might be people who can intercept divine will transmissions. Yi Fan reminded. In the end, the handwriting of this supreme being was sold for a sky-high price of 120,000 kilograms of source. It was really shocking. On the yellow dragon platform, the white-haired old man announced, "Next, there will be a rare ancient treasure auctioned." The auction hall suddenly became so silent that even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard. The 16 demoness cultivation was not weak. However, at this moment they were all sweating and panting, weak and powerless. They worked together to carry a broken bell. It was more than a meter tall. It was old and unadorned. There was nothing special about it. It looked like a common bell among the common people. Everyone was shocked. These girls were in the Holy Ji Palace's secret realm, but they were so tired. It was enough to show how heavy this bell was. The white-haired old man of the Sky Demon Palace stepped forward and took it. He brought the dull bell to the yellow dragon platform and placed it at the highest point for everyone to see. It's broken. It's already destroyed. The crowd was in an uproar. One side of the bell was completely missing. Strictly speaking, this was half a bell. What is a broken bell for? Someone asked loudly, puzzled. Everyone, don't underestimate it. This is a rare ancient treasure. The white-haired old man's expression was solemn. What is it? The white-haired old man said, this item was found in an abandoned ancient mine. It has existed for an extremely long time. It has at least 50,000 years of history. There are many ancient objects in the world. It's not just because they are old that they are precious. What is its origin? An elder asked. It is not an ordinary bell. This is a weapon used by an ancient great figure who is about to step into the ancient sage realm. As soon as the white-haired old man's words fell, the auction hall suddenly became noisy. Many elders were excited and began to bid. 70,000 kilograms, 80,000 kilograms, 50,000 kilograms. At this moment even the Holy Lands participated in the bidding. This bell was already broken and could not be repaired. However, there were still remnants of the laws. It was worth the great figures to study. The scene was very lively. Some old men kept raising the price. They were all figures of the super forces. This group of old men, after eating aphrodisiac, they are on steroids again. Li Heishui mumbled. Yi Fan smiled and said, "Your grandfather is also participating." Li Heishui. In the end, this broken bell was sold for a price of 80,000 kilograms. It was extremely shocking. One could imagine how expensive it would be if it was in perfect condition. Now we will auction the last rare treasure. It can be said to be peerless because it is impossible to find a second one. The white-haired old man sighed. He personally walked down the yellow diamond dragon stage and carried a spotless white jade cauldron onto the stage. The jade cauldron was only a foot tall. There was a lid on it. It was tightly sealed and sealed. I think everyone already knows what it is. That's right, it is an archaic divine medicine. It was cut out from a stone by a little friend. The auction hall was in an uproar. It was difficult to calm down. Many people stood up. The auction this time was for this divine medicine. Of course, many people only came to see it because they could not afford it. It would definitely be an astronomical price. It would most likely fall into the hands of the Holy Lands. No one could compete with them. The white-haired old man opened the white jade cauldron and took out the divine medicine. Even though it was sealed in the ice and snow, there was still a faint fragrance wafting out, making people feel refreshed. The light blue stem flickered with sparkling radiance. The milky white medicinal foot was no different from a human's foot, just much smaller. Too much time has passed. No one knows what this humanoid divine medicine's name is anymore. In the current world, even if you travel through the great desolate lands, it will be difficult to find this kind of humanoid divine medicine. Its base price is 150,000 kilograms of source. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. This divine medicine was indeed a peerless treasure, but it was too badly damaged. Its true value would not exceed 150,000 kilograms of source. However, the base price was already here. It was obvious that the final price would be ridiculous. After a short period of silence, many people shouted out high prices. 160,000 kilograms of source. 180,000 kilograms of source. 200,000 kilograms of source. Even the third great bandit Su Qianxiong stood up and shouted out a sky-high price. When the group of old men saw this, they all sat down. They knew that there was absolutely no chance. This was a contest between Holy Lord level characters. As expected, the Holy Lands began to bid. The various great sage lords personally came and sat in the VIP rooms. That group of old baldies also made a move. Li Heishui was overjoyed. Several old monks with lights on the back of their heads directly pushed the price to 150,000 kilograms of source. And the mysterious figures from the central plains wearing dragon crowns added another 50,000 kilograms of source in one go. Yi Fan sucked in a breath of cold air and said, "It seems like these people really want to enter the Purple Mountain. They are making preparations to buy a life-saving divine medicine in advance." Li Heishui said, "We might as well take advantage of the fact that there are so many important people here to quickly auction off that dog-gnawed fruit." Yi Fan nodded and said, "That's right. As long as the divine medicine is sold, let the Sky Fei Treasure Tower immediately auction off that dog-tooth fruit. I want to see which Holy Lord will buy it and what expression he will have." Chapter 341. 150,000 kilograms. As soon as these words were spoken, the entire auction hall went silent, and everyone was stunned. The great figure from the central state shouted out 300,000 kilograms of origin source with a momentum that could swallow mountains and rivers. Are they crazy? A damaged divine medicine worth 150,000 kilograms, but they're doubling the price. In the hall, even the older generation changed their expressions. Against such a big shot, even the Holy Lands would be helpless. In the VIP room, the four mysterious big shots from the middle ground had calm expressions, as if it wasn't 150,000 kilograms, but a pile of rocks. They were all middle-aged men, each of them extraordinary, like heavenly kings descending. The four of them wore dragon crowns, looking majestic and intimidating. No one knew how old they really were. The four of them didn't belong to the Grand Xia Empire because the Prince of Grand Xia and the little nun were in another private room, accompanying an imperial uncle of Grand Xia. 150,000 kilograms. An old monk from the western desert said. 130,000 kilograms. In the VIP room, a middle-aged man wearing a dragon crown calmly called out. The auction hall fell silent. Even someone as powerful as Su Tianxiong sat down. Although he was a super terrifying big shot, he wasn't strong enough in terms of origin. 10,000 kilograms in one go, they really don't care about origin at all. As expected of the big shots from the middle ground. An immortal ancient dynasty that rules over billions of miles of land, no one can compare to them. Everyone was shocked and discussed in low voices. The middle ground has 4 immortal dynasties, as well as the 100 schools of thought and many ancient sections. Which ancient dynasty are they from? Look at the dragon crowns on their heads and the clothes they're wearing. They should be from an immortal ancient dynasty that has a long history and is incomparably prosperous. They're definitely here for the Purple Mountain, aiming for Emperor Wuxia's inheritance and buying the divine medicine to save their lives. Everyone guessed their identity and became even more fearful. An immortal dynasty was even more powerful than a holy land, and there were few great powers in the world that could compete with them. 140,000 kilograms. The wavering light Holy Land called out. As a great sect in the Eastern Baron, they were determined to get the human-shaped divine medicine, so they naturally didn't want to fall behind. 350,000 kilograms, an important figure from the ancient Hua dynasty said again, but he wasn't as aggressive as before. In the VIP room, Yi Fan and Li Heishui looked at each other. According to Yao Yuekong's analysis, if a divine lord came back heavily injured from attacking the Purple Mountain, the incomplete human-shaped godly herb could be sold for 350,000 kilograms of source stones. At this moment it had reached this number and it seemed like it was still rising. As expected, someone from the Jiang clan of the ancients raised the price to 360,000 kilograms of source stones. 370,000 kilograms of source stone. The Yaoguang Holy Land continued to raise the price. Sacred Lord Yaoguang was severely injured and needed this human-shaped godly herb to heal and recover as soon as possible. Otherwise, if this dragged on and they attacked the Purple Mountain again, he might not be able to participate. 380,000 kilograms. An important figure from the ancient royal dynasty stated the price calmly. At this moment, the other holy lands and clans of the clan of the ancients were no longer bidding. The old monk of the Western Desert Buddhism had also withdrawn from the competition. 400,000 kilograms of origin source. Yao Guang directly raised the price of this godly medicine to a whole number. In the ancient royal dynasty, an important figure wearing a dragon crown said calmly, 410,000 kilograms of source stones. The Yaoguang Holy Land had been silent for a long time. It wasn't that they couldn't bear the price, but they felt that there wouldn't be a result if they continued. The other party was from an immortal dynasty and had a deep foundation. If they were determined to win, it would be a huge battle. 410,000 kilograms of source stones going once, going twice, dong. The sound of the hammer stopped. In the end, an important figure from the ancient royal dynasty bought the human-shaped godly herb for 410,000 kilograms of source stones. Crazy. Its actual value is more than 100,000 kilograms of source stones, but it has reached this number. No one dared to believe it. This number was so shocking that it was hard to accept. Even a holy land can be suppressed by others. The forces of the Central Plains are indeed unimaginable. Even Li Heishui was dumbfounded. It was even higher than the sky-high price they had expected. It was indeed beyond their expectations. Yi Fan said, "It's just a coincidence. If it weren't for the important figures from the Central Plains and the West Desert, there wouldn't be such a high price." The final treasure, godly herb. After the hammer fell, people started to discuss. Some people stood up and were about to leave. "Everyone please stay. We received a commission at the last minute. There is another treasure to be auctioned," the white-haired old man said. "What else?" "Even the godly herb has been auctioned. Is there something more attractive?" someone asked. The old man smiled and said, "I think many people here will be interested." "What is it?" "Human essence fruit." The white-haired old man stood on the yellow diamond dragon platform and uttered these 3 words. "What?" Many people were shocked. The mortal essence fruit cut from a rock? Many people from the older generation knew about it. Legend has it that these things are extremely difficult to find. Apart from Genesis masters, only demonic monarchs with some true dragon blood in their veins can discover them with their innate divine abilities. These fruits are fake dragon pearls formed by the earth. That's right. The white-haired old man nodded. Boom. The auction hall was in an uproar. Everyone sat back down and no longer left. The mortal essence fruit is a treasure that can prolong one's life. Even this thing can be cut from a rock. I haven't heard of it for many years. Everyone was shocked. They were all discussing about the godly herb. Now someone was auctioning this fruit. It made people speechless. Even though the mortal essence fruit is not as good as the archaic divine medicine, it is still a rare treasure. Who told you it is not as good as the godly herb? That is because it is not mature yet. If it continues to absorb the essence of the world, it can become an earthly fate fruit, also known as a fake Dragon Ball. It will not be any worse than the godly herb. In the VIP room, Yifan learned a lot. It turned out that this fruit, even if it was grown in a rock, could still grow and absorb the essence of the sun and the moon. The people from the Holy Lands were the most excited, especially the Yaoguang Holy Land. They had missed the humanoid divine medicine and were overjoyed to find out that there was also the mortal essence fruit. Everyone please be quiet. The white-haired old man walked up the stage with a jade cauldron and placed it at the highest point. Take it out and let us have a look, someone shouted from below. The jade cauldron was opened. A slightly damaged fruit was sealed in a transparent jade ware. It appeared on the stage emitting a light fragrance. How come this fruit is damaged? Everyone present was a cultivator. Their eyes were sharp and they immediately saw the key point. It was bitten by something and lost most of its spiritual chi. What a wastrel. Who bit it? What a waste. The mortal essence fruit is meant to be refined. How could it be eaten? It would be strange if it was not poisoned to death. Hearing these angry voices, Yifan's forehead was full of black lines. He had the urge to kick the big black dog again. This damn dog really knew how to waste things. That's not right. Why do I think it looks like teeth marks? Could it be that it was bitten by a dog? The eyes of these people were all extremely sharp. Many of the older generation people had blank eyelashes. They had seen everything, so they immediately recognized the teeth marks. It really was bitten by a dog. Which dog deserved to be hacked to pieces? This is the mortal essence fruit. Who is so bastard to feed it to a dog? Hearing these words, Yifan was really speechless. At the crucial moment, it was the white-haired old man from the Sky Devil Treasure Tower who calmed their dissatisfaction. Everyone, this is something collected from the countryside. An old farmer found it by smashing a rock. Of course, he doesn't know how precious it is. But you can't feed it to a dog. Damn it, I'm so angry. What is this? Goddamn wastrel. The group of old men were anxious and cursed. In the VIP room, Li Heishui laughed wildly. Yifan was so depressed that he was speechless. This mortal essence fruit has a starting price of 50,000 kilograms. The white-haired old man announced the start of the auction. Immediately, there was a wave of dissatisfaction. If it is not damaged, it could be worth more than 200,000 kilograms. But now it can't be more than 50,000 kilograms. Why is the starting price so high? That's right. The spiritual chi is almost gone. Although this was said, the crowd still frowned and started to bid. Although it had been bitten by a dog, it was indeed a mortal essence fruit. It was a rare treasure that could prolong one's life. Among them, the Holy Lands were the most uncomfortable. They wanted to give up but were unwilling. Especially the Yaoguang Holy Land, they really pinched their noses and bid. 60,000 kilograms? 70,000 kilograms? 80,000 kilograms? Are you kidding me? This was bitten by a dog. Why are you fighting so fiercely with me? If you don't like it, then don't fight. I will bid 90,000 kilograms. Li Heishui laughed happily. Seeing a group of old men fighting over a mortal essence fruit that had been bitten by a dog, he had the urge to punch the ground. But soon his smile froze. His grandfather stood up and bid 90,000 kilograms.